Hello friends. Did you know nearly 80% of those who watch my videos aren't subscribed? If you enjoy these stories, please hit that subscribe button and leave a like. It really helps. Thank you for being here. By the way, where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. When I made my first trip from Fairbanks to Deadhorse, I was 26 years old. Now I'm 42. And I still can't get that night out of my mind. I want to forget it, but the brain doesn't work that way. Some things stick in your mind. They don't fade. They take root. That night was like that for me. If you're a truck driver in Alaska, you know this road. The Dalton Highway, 414 miles of ice, isolation, and silence. You cross the Arctic Circle. The trees disappear. Civilization disappears. Only white remains. Endless, suffocating white. That night, my cargo was drilling equipment parts. Heavy load, standard rate, nothing special. The dispatcher told me not to rush, that the weather looked stable. I should have known better. In Alaska, the weather is never stable. It just looks that way. I left Fairbanks at 4:47 p.m. I remember because I checked my watch twice, some superstitious habit I picked up from my old man. He always said knowing your start time could save your life. I never understood what he meant until that night. The first 60 miles were fine. Twilight stretched across the tundra, that strange purple-gray light that makes everything look like it's underwater. My headlights cut through it clean. The engine hummed steady. CB radio crackled with the usual chatter. Other drivers, road conditions, someone complaining about their coffee going cold. By mile 70, the chatter died down. One by one, the other voices signed off, heading to Coldfoot, pulling over at Yukon River, calling it early. Soon, it was just static and my own breathing. That's when the cold really set in. Not outside cold. I mean the cold that crawls up your spine when you realize you're completely alone. No other headlights in either direction. No lights from any structure. Just my truck, the road, and the darkness pressing in from all sides. I passed the Arctic Circle sign at 7:23 p.m. There's this unofficial tradition where drivers honk when they cross it. I didn't honk. Something about the silence felt wrong to disturb. The air had gotten thicker somehow, like breathing through wet wool. Around mile 115, my GPS flickered, just for a second. The screen went black, then came back on, but the route looked off. The road on the screen didn't quite match the road I was on. The angle was wrong by maybe 5 degrees. I tapped it a few times, figured it was just recalibrating. It corrected itself after a minute. That should have been my first warning. The temperature gauge on my dash read -28 Fahrenheit. Wind chill probably made it closer to 40 below. I could hear the ice forming on my wheel wells with every rotation. That distinctive crackling sound like someone crumpling paper inside a tin can. At mile 142, I saw the sign. Old thing, half covered in frost, leaning at an angle like it had been hit by something years ago and never fixed. It read, Adigun Pass 68 miles. But underneath, someone had spray-painted something else. I slowed down to read it. The paint was fresh. Couldn't have been more than a few days old, maybe less. In crooked letters it said, Count your tire tracks. I laughed. Nervous laugh. The kind that sounds hollow even to yourself. Probably some bored road worker's idea of a joke. Count your tire tracks. What the hell did that even mean? I kept driving. By mile 160, the aurora started. I'd seen the northern lights before, plenty of times, but never like this. They weren't dancing. They were pulsing. Slow, rhythmic pulses of green and white that made the snow look like it was breathing. The light fell across the road in strange angles, creating shadows where there shouldn't be any shadows. I turned on the CB radio, tried raising anyone. "This is Unit 47, northbound at mile 160. Anyone copy?" Static. I tried again. "Any drivers on Dalton? This is 47. Requesting radio check." More static, but this time, underneath it, I could hear something. Faint, like a word being repeated very far away, or very close but whispered. I turned the volume up. The static got louder, but the sound underneath stayed the same volume. I still couldn't make out what it was saying. Sounded like one syllable, over and over. Ka, ka, ka. Or maybe caw, caw. Could have been anything. I switched it off. My hands were shaking slightly, and I told myself it was just the cold getting to me through the heating vents. The road stretched ahead, perfectly straight. My headlights reached maybe 200 feet before the darkness swallowed everything. On both sides, nothing but flat white tundra extending to the horizon. No variation. No landmarks. Just white. And more white. I thought about my ex-wife, Julie. She hated when I took these runs. Said Alaska would kill me one day. Not from an accident, but from the loneliness. "You can't handle being alone with your thoughts that long," she'd say. "Nobody can." I told her she was wrong. I liked the solitude, gave me time to think. Now, at mile 175, I wasn't so sure. My thoughts were getting weird. I kept imagining I could see shapes moving in my peripheral vision, but when I'd look, nothing. Just tricks of the aurora light on the snow. At mile 189, my GPS flickered again. This time it stayed black for almost 30 seconds before coming back on. When it did, the route looked normal, but the mile marker was wrong. It showed me at mile 184. I was certain I'd passed 189. I'd seen the marker post. But the GPS insisted. Mile 184. I didn't trust it anymore. Switched to manual navigation, relying on the mile markers along the road. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. In my headlights, I could see tire tracks in the snow along the shoulder. Recent tracks. The snow was falling lightly, had been for the last hour, which meant these tracks were fresh. Less than an hour old. They were the exact width of my tires. I told myself another truck had passed through. Had to be. But I hadn't seen another vehicle in over 90 miles. And these tracks, they were too similar. Same tread pattern. Same slight irregularity on the right rear tire where I'd hit a pothole outside Fairbanks and dented the rim. I was following my own tire tracks. But that was impossible. This was my first run to Dead Horse. I'd never been this far north before. The radio crackled to life without me touching it. No voices. Just that same sound underneath the static, but closer now. Clearer. It wasn't ka or caw. It was a word. Back, back, back. I reached over and ripped the power cord out of the CB unit. The sound stopped. Ahead, through the swirling snow, I saw something in the road. I slowed down, squinting through the windshield. It was another sign. This one wasn't on any map, hand-painted, like the last one. It stood in the middle of my lane. Mile 287, no dispatch after dark. I stopped the truck completely. Sat there with the engine idling, staring at that sign. Mile 287 wasn't supposed to exist on this stretch. The markers jumped from 286 to 288. Everybody knew that. Some surveying error from 50 years ago that nobody ever fixed. But here it was, mile 287. And the sign, no dispatch after dark. What did that mean? I grabbed my phone to check, but I had no signal. Hadn't had signal since mile 90. I looked at my watch, 9:34 p.m. I'd been driving for almost 5 hours. Should be around mile 200 by now, maybe 210, but the GPS had said 184, The sign said 287. Nothing added up. I put the truck in gear and drove around the sign. As I passed it, I glanced in my side mirror. The sign was gone. Just empty road behind me. My breathing was getting faster. I could feel panic creeping in, that tight feeling in your chest like invisible hands squeezing. I forced myself to breathe slowly. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Old trick from my army days. The tire tracks continued alongside me. My tire tracks, impossible tire tracks. At what I thought was mile 195, they split. My headlights illuminated the fork clearly. One set of tracks continued straight ahead, following the Dalton Highway north like they should. The other set veered off to the right, onto what looked like an old maintenance road or maybe a winter trail. The tracks going right were slightly deeper, like the truck had been heavier, or moving slower. I stopped again, stared at that fork in my own impossible tracks. Logic said, go straight. Logic said the right fork was madness. But something in my gut, some instinct I can't explain, wanted me to go right, to follow those deeper tracks. I sat there for 10 minutes, engine running, heat blasting, trying to decide. The aurora pulsed overhead, green waves washing over everything. In that light, both sets of tracks looked equally real and equally wrong. Finally, I went straight. I'm a practical man. I follow the route, I deliver the cargo. I don't chase mysteries down unnamed roads in the middle of the Arctic night. But as I drove past that fork, I looked in my mirror one last time. And I swear on everything I have, I saw taillights disappearing down that right fork. Red lights, getting smaller. My truck's taillights. I faced forward and kept driving, hands gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles went white. That was the end of part 1. The strangeness had begun, but I didn't understand yet. I thought I was still in control. I thought I was still heading north to Dead Horse, still following the plan, still living in a world that made sense. I was wrong. The wind picked up around what should have been mile 220. I say should have been because I stopped trusting any of my instruments. The GPS was showing random numbers. My odometer seemed stuck. Even my fuel gauge was acting strange, hovering at 3/4 full even though I knew I'd burned through at least a quarter tank. The wind didn't sound right. I've driven through Arctic storms before, heard wind that could strip paint off steel. This was different. This wind had a rhythm to it. 3 strong gusts, then silence. 3 more gusts, then silence. Over and over, like breathing. The snow started coming down harder. Not a blizzard, not yet, but thick enough that my wipers were struggling. Each swipe left a thin film of ice that I had to blast with washer fluid every few minutes. The fluid was freezing on the windshield before the wipers could clear it away. I was going maybe 25 miles an hour now, crawling through the white. My headlights reflected off the snow in a way that made it impossible to tell where the road ended and the tundra began. I was navigating by the feel of the pavement under my tires, that subtle difference between packed snow on asphalt versus snow on frozen ground. The tire tracks were still there, still matching mine exactly. They stayed on the road when I stayed on the road. They wavered when I wavered. At one point, I deliberately swerved slightly to the left. In my headlights, I watched the tracks ahead swerve the same way, like they were predicting my movements. Or I was following predictions. My mind was playing tricks. Had to be. Exhaustion, isolation, the aurora doing weird things to my perception. I'd read about this Arctic hysteria, they call it. Drivers who spend too long alone start seeing things, hearing things. Their brains manufacture company. But those tracks, those goddamn tracks. At 10:47 p.m., the road started to climb. The Atagun Pass was still miles away, but there were smaller rises in the terrain. As I crested one of these hills, my headlights illuminated something that made me hit the brakes. A truck sitting in the middle of the road about 200 yards ahead. Hazard lights off. No movement. I grabbed my flashlight from the door pocket and stepped out. The cold hit me like a physical force. The wind had died down to nothing, which somehow made it worse. Wind you can understand. Wind is natural. This silence was thick, suffocating. I approached the truck cautiously. "Hello?" My voice died in the air. Didn't even echo. "Anyone need help?" The truck was a Kenworth. Same model as mine, same color, same company logo on the door. My company. My hands started shaking as I got closer. The license plate, I couldn't read it. It was covered in ice. But the number on the door, the fleet number, I knew it before I even looked. My number. I walked around to the driver's side. The window was frosted over, but I could make out a shape inside. Someone sitting in the driver's seat, not moving. I knocked on the window, no response. Knocked harder. "Hey, you okay in there?" Nothing. I tried the door handle. Locked. I pressed my face against the window, using my hands to block the reflection from my flashlight. I could see the shape more clearly now. It was wearing a jacket like mine. Same color, same brand. The aurora pulsed overhead, and for just a second the light was bright enough that I could see through the frost on the window. The driver's seat was empty. I stumbled backward, nearly fell. Caught myself on the side mirror. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might crack a rib. The seat was empty. I'd seen someone sitting there. I knew I had, but now it was empty. I ran back to my truck, climbed in, locked the doors. Sat there panting, fogging up the windows with my breath. Ahead of me, the other truck sat motionless. My truck. Not my truck. Impossible. I put my rig in gear and drove around it. Gave it wide berth, nearly going off the road into the tundra. As I passed, I didn't look at it. Couldn't look at it. Kept my eyes straight ahead. In my side mirror, the truck was gone. The road was empty behind me. I drove faster. Pushed the engine harder than I should have on ice. Didn't care. I needed to get through this pass, get to Dead Horse, deliver the cargo, get the hell out of here. File a report. Tell someone. Get sent to a psychiatrist. I didn't care. I just needed this to end. The GPS flickered back on. This time it showed me at mile 312. Impossible. I couldn't have covered that much ground that fast. But there it was, glowing on the screen. Mile 312. The tire tracks were gone. The road ahead was fresh snow, unmarked. I felt a rush of relief so intense I almost laughed. Whatever had been happening, it was over. Just a weird glitch, a combination of exhaustion and equipment failure and my imagination running wild. Then I crested another rise, and the relief died. The tracks were back. But this time there were two sets. My tracks from before, and another set overlaying them. Newer, fresher, and these newer tracks were deeper, like the truck making them was going slower. Or carrying something heavier. I was following myself. The CB radio crackled to life even though it was still unplugged. That same voice underneath the static, but now I could hear it clearly. Back, back, go back, back. I grabbed the unit and threw it out the window. Watched it shatter on the ice in my side mirror. The voice continued from my dashboard speakers. My radio wasn't even on. Back, back, go back. I punched the radio. Once, twice, 3 times. My knuckles split. Blood on the plastic. The voice got quieter but didn't stop. The temperature gauge on my dash was dropping. -35, -40, -45. but I could feel heat pouring from the vents. My heater was working fine. The temperature outside was changing. The truck's thermometer couldn't even keep up. At -52, it stopped changing. Held steady. I'd never seen it that cold. Not in 15 years of driving. That's cold enough to freeze diesel in your tank. Cold enough to shatter metal. Cold enough to kill you in minutes if you step outside. The wind came back. All at once, no buildup. 1 second silence. The next second, a wall of white. Total white out. I couldn't see the hood of my own truck, just white. Everywhere. Complete sensory deprivation. I slowed to a crawl. 5 miles an hour. 3. Couldn't see anything. Was I still on the road? No way to tell. I could feel the truck tilting slightly to the right. Going off the shoulder? Or was the road banking? I stopped completely. Put it in park. Sat there with the engine running, surrounded by white. The wind screamed around the cab. Not a scream like a person. A scream like metal tearing. Like the earth itself was splitting open. The aurora was still visible somehow. Green light filtering through the white, making everything look like I was underwater in a frozen sea. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been 10 minutes, could have been an hour. Time felt broken. My watch showed 11:34 p.m., but I could have sworn it had said that same time 15 minutes ago. Then, through the white, I saw lights. Headlights. Coming from ahead. Coming toward me. Relief flooded through me. Another truck, another driver. Proof I wasn't alone. Proof this was all just bad weather and exhaustion. The lights got closer. Bright, too bright. High beams. I flashed my lights at them. Signal to dim your brights. The lights didn't change. Closer now. Maybe 50 yards. I could make out the shape of the truck. Same model as mine, 25 yards. I could see the windshield, couldn't see the driver. The aurora light was reflecting weird off the glass. 10 yards. I could read the number on the door. I slammed the truck in reverse, cranked the wheel. My rig fishtailed on the ice. The approaching truck kept coming. No swerve, no change in speed, just heading straight for me. I gunned it backward, felt the tires spinning, catching, spinning. The other truck was 5 yards away. Then it was gone. Just gone. The lights, the shape, everything. Like it had never been there, just the whiteout and me. I sat there in reverse, engine screaming, going nowhere. I put it back in park. My whole body was shaking. Not from cold, from something else. Something that didn't have a name. The whiteout started to clear. Gradually at first, then faster. The wind died down. Within 2 minutes I could see the road again. Clear as anything. Like the storm had never happened. The road ahead was empty. Behind me was empty. I was alone. My fuel gauge now read half full. I'd been running the engine that whole time. Should have burned more than that. I checked my watch, 11:34 p.m. Same time as before. I started driving again. What else could I do? Going back wasn't an option. I didn't even know where back was anymore. Forward was the only direction that made any sense. If any of this made sense. The tire tracks had multiplied. Now there were 4 sets. All mine. All slightly different depths, slightly different ages. It looked like I'd driven this road 4 times, each trip layered on top of the last. At mile marker 287, that number again, I saw the dispatch station. It shouldn't have been there. There's no dispatch station at 287. There's nothing at 287. It doesn't exist. But there it was. A small building, lights on in the windows. Radio tower out back. Company logo on the side. I pulled into the lot. 3 other trucks were parked there. All Kenworths. All same color. all number 47. I didn't get out. I sat there looking at those trucks, looking at that building. The lights inside were warm, inviting. I could see shapes moving past the windows, people or something. The front door of the building opened. A figure stepped out, too far away to make out details. They waved at me. Friendly wave. Come on in. I put my truck in gear and drove away. Didn't look back. I don't know what would have happened if I'd gone in. Don't want to know. The road climbed steeper. The pass was close now. Had to be. I could feel it in the way the engine was working, the way the air pressure was changing. My radio, the one I'd thrown out the window, was back on my dashboard. Intact, no cracks, no blood on it. The cord was even plugged in again. I didn't remember picking it up, didn't remember reinstalling it. It crackled, that voice again. But this time it wasn't saying back. It was counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sets of tire tracks. 5. I looked ahead. Through my headlights I saw a 5th set appear, fresher than all the others, still being made. By a truck I couldn't see. 6. A 6th set materialized. 7. 8. The tracks were multiplying faster than the voice could count. By the time it reached 12, there were at least 20 sets. All mine, all impossible. The road ahead looked like a parking lot. So many tracks layered on top of each other. How many times had I driven this? How many times was I going to drive this? I reached the summit of the pass at 11:34 p.m. My watch had stopped, or time had stopped, or I had stopped and everything else kept going. From the summit I could see down into the valley. The road descended in a long, gentle curve, and in the distance, maybe 10 miles out, I could see lights. A truck, driving the same direction as me, same speed. I picked up my binoculars from the passenger seat, focused on the truck. Number 47. I was watching myself drive 10 miles ahead of myself, or behind. Direction didn't mean anything anymore. I lowered the binoculars and looked in my rearview mirror. Another truck, 10 miles back, same model. Couldn't see the number, but I knew. I was sandwiched between myself. The aurora pulsed, the radio counted, the tracks multiplied. And I kept driving, because what else could I do? That was the end of part 2. The world had broken around me. The rules that governed reality had stopped applying. But I wasn't scared anymore. I was beyond scared. I was in a place where fear doesn't reach, where your mind just goes numb, and you keep moving because moving is all there is. I should have turned back at the fork. I knew that now. Those deeper tracks going right, that was the exit, the escape route. But I'd chosen straight, chosen the route I knew, chosen the logical path. And now logic was punishing me for it. The descent from the pass should have taken 45 minutes. I drove for 3 hours. The road never ended. It just kept curving, always the same gentle left turn, like I was driving in a massive circle. But my GPS, when it worked, said I was going straight north. The trucks ahead of me stayed exactly 10 miles ahead. The truck behind me stayed exactly 10 miles behind. Like we were locked in formation. Like we were all the same truck existing in different moments, and those moments were somehow collapsed together. I tried speeding up. Hit 50 miles per hour on the ice, dangerous as hell. The truck ahead sped up too, tried slowing down to 30. The truck behind slowed down. We were synchronized, a convoy of one. At some point, I stopped checking the time. My watch was useless. The clock on my dash kept resetting to 11:34 p.m. That seemed to be the hour I was stuck in. 11:34. Over and over, forever, 11:34. The aurora had changed colors. It wasn't green anymore. It was red. Deep, dark, red, like blood in water. It pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat. I could feel it pulling at me, each pulse a gentle tug on something inside my chest. Not painful, just present. The radio had stopped counting. Now it was just playing static. But in that static, if I listened carefully, I could hear breathing. Slow, steady breathing. In and out, in and out. I turned the volume all the way down. The breathing got louder. There were no more tire tracks on the road. The snow was completely smooth, unmarked, like no vehicle had ever driven here, like I was the first, or the last. Then I saw it, the thing that broke me. Ahead, maybe a quarter mile, the road ended, just stopped, like someone had taken a knife and cut reality in half. Beyond the edge, nothing. Not darkness, not white. Nothing. A void. An absence of existence. I hit the brakes. The truck skidded, fishtailed. I wrestled with the wheel, got it under control. Stopped maybe 200 yards from the edge. I sat there staring at that nothing, trying to process it. My brain couldn't. It kept sliding off the concept like water off glass. You can't comprehend nothing. True nothing. Your mind needs something to anchor to, even if it's just darkness or emptiness. This was neither. This was the complete absence of anything. I looked in my rearview mirror. The truck behind me was closer now, maybe 5 miles back. And it wasn't slowing down. I looked ahead. The truck in front had reached the edge. I watched it drive straight into the nothing. It didn't fall, didn't crash. It just ceased. 1 second it was there, the next second it wasn't. Not even a memory of it. Like it had been erased from ever existing. The truck behind me was 3 miles back now, closing fast. I had maybe 10 minutes before I'd have to make a choice. Drive forward into the nothing. Or get out of the truck and... What, walk into the tundra? Freeze to death? Maybe that was better than erasing. I turned off the engine. My name is Marcus Webb, and I've been hauling freight across Alaska for 11 years. Before that, I was Army, Logistics Corps, moving supplies across Afghanistan. I thought after Kandahar, nothing could rattle me. I thought I'd seen the worst of what isolation and fear could do to a person. I was wrong. This happened in February 2019. I remember because it was 3 days after my daughter's 8th birthday, and I'd promised her I'd be home for it. Missed it by a week. The guilt from that promise kept me company on what should have been a routine run from Prudhoe Bay down to Fairbanks. The load was light. Medical supplies, some electronics, mail for the oil field workers. The kind of cargo that doesn't pay much but keeps you moving, keeps the bills paid. I'd done this route maybe 200 times. Knew every mile marker, every pull-off, every place where the ice got sketchy. I left Prudhoe Bay at 2:17 p.m. The sun was already thinking about setting. This time of year you get maybe 4 hours of real daylight, and the rest is just varying shades of dark. I wanted to make Coldfoot before midnight, grab a few hours of sleep, then finish the run to Fairbanks in the morning. The weather report said clear skies, minimal wind, temperature holding steady at -32. Perfect conditions, or as perfect as you get on the Dalton in February. The first 90 miles were exactly what I expected. Empty road, frozen tundra stretching to the horizon, the occasional Arctic fox darting across the highway. My CB radio crackled with the usual traffic. Other drivers checking in, weather updates, someone complaining about a cracked windshield. At mile marker 95, I passed another northbound truck. We flashed our lights at each other, the truckers wave. That was the last vehicle I saw for hours. The sun went down around 4:30 p.m. Not a sunset like you see in the lower 48. Just a gradual dimming, like someone slowly turning down the lights in a room. By 5 p.m. it was full dark. My headlights carved a tunnel through the night, and beyond that tunnel there was nothing, just an absence. I'd been driving in silence, no radio, no music. Sometimes I like it that way. Gives you time to think. But as the darkness deepened, the silence started to feel wrong. Too thick. Too present. I turned on the radio. Classic rock station out of Fairbanks, coming in scratchy but clear enough. Led Zeppelin. Ramble on, I sang along, badly, just to hear a voice. Around mile 130, the station started cutting out. Not unusual. Radio signals don't travel well up here. Too much magnetic interference from the aurora. But it wasn't cutting out to static. It was cutting out to silence. Complete dead silence. Then the song would come back, right where it left off. Like someone had hit pause. I spun through the dial. Found a talk radio station, some guy discussing fishing regulations, same thing. Voice, silence, voice, silence. Like the air itself was swallowing the sound. I shut it off. Drove in quiet. At mile 156, my GPS chimed. Route recalculation in progress. I glanced at it. The screen showed my truck as a blue dot on the highway, exactly where I should be. No recalculation needed, but it chimed again. Route recalculation in progress. I tapped the screen. It froze for a second, then refreshed. Everything looked normal. I was on the Dalton Highway heading south, right on schedule. Then it chimed a third time. Dispatching from mile 287. Proceed to designated coordinates. I stared at that message. Mile 287. I knew that number. Every trucker who runs the Dalton knows that number. Mile 287 doesn't exist. It's a gap in the mile markers. The road goes from 286 to 288, skipping 287 entirely. Some old surveying error from when they first built the highway in the 70s. Nobody ever fixed it. It's just a quirk, a local oddity. Drivers joke about it sometimes. Hey, meet me at mile 287. Sure, right after I finished driving through the Bermuda Triangle. But here was my GPS telling me I had a dispatch from mile 287. I looked at the coordinates. They pointed to a location about 40 miles ahead, right around where mile 287 should be if it existed. This had to be a glitch. GPS systems malfunction all the time up here. The cold does weird things to electronics. I've had my phone tell me I was in the middle of the Arctic Ocean while I was parked at a gas station. I ignored it, kept driving. 10 minutes later, my company radio crackled to life. This wasn't the CB. This was the direct line to dispatch, encrypted channel used only for official communication. Unit 23, this is dispatch, come in. I grabbed the handset. This is Unit 23, go ahead. Static, then, Unit 23, you are instructed to proceed to mile 287 for emergency pickup. Acknowledge. The voice sounded wrong, too flat, no emotion. Dispatch operators are usually chatty, personable. This sounded like a computer voice, but not quite. Like a person doing a bad impression of a computer. Dispatch, I'm not showing mile 287 on my route. Can you clarify coordinates? More static. Longer this time. Then, coordinates transmitted to your GPS. Proceed immediately. Time-sensitive cargo. I checked the GPS again. New coordinates had appeared. Same location as before. Dispatch, what's the nature of the cargo? Classified. Proceed immediately. I'd never heard dispatch say classified before. We hauled medicine, equipment, supplies. Nothing was ever classified. Dispatch, I need authorization code for route deviation. Silence, long enough that I thought the connection had dropped. Then, authorization code 287, 287, 287. Proceed immediately. That wasn't how authorization codes worked. They were alphanumeric, 16 characters, changed daily. Not just the same number repeated 3 times. Dispatch, I'm going to need to verify this with... The radio cut out. Dead air. I tried raising them again. Nothing. Tried the CB. Nothing. Even the static was gone. Complete radio silence. I drove another 5 miles, trying to make sense of it. Could have been a prank. Some bored asshole with a radio scanner screwing with truckers for entertainment. Happens sometimes. But how did they get into the company frequency? That was encrypted. And how did they sync it with my GPS? At mile 175, I saw the turnoff. It was barely visible. Just a break in the snowbank on the right side of the road, and a small reflective sign that said, Auxiliary Route, Authorized Vehicles Only. I'd driven past this spot dozens of times and never noticed that sign before. I slowed down, peered at the turnoff. It was a narrow road, barely wide enough for my truck. Fresh tire tracks led down it, recent enough that the falling snow hadn't covered them yet. Someone had gone down there, recently. I should have kept driving. Should have gone straight to Coldfoot, reported the weird radio call, let someone else deal with it. But I didn't. Maybe it was the Army training. When you get an emergency call, you respond. No questions. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was something else. Something I still don't understand. I turned right onto the auxiliary route. The road was rough. Not maintained like the main highway. My truck bounced over ruts and ice patches. The trees closed in on both sides. Scraggly black spruce, their branches heavy with snow, leaning over the road like they were trying to touch. My headlights caught reflective markers every 100 yards or so. Small metal posts with orange reflectors showing the edge of the road. Between the markers, darkness. Complete and total. I drove for 10 minutes, checked the GPS. It showed me getting closer to the coordinates. Still another 30 miles out. The tire tracks I'd been following disappeared. Just stopped, mid-road, like the vehicle making them had lifted off the ground. I stopped my truck and got out to look. The cold hit me like a hammer. -30 feels like breathing broken glass. I walked to where the tracks ended, shining my flashlight on the snow. They didn't fade out. They didn't get covered by fresh snow. They just stopped. Clean edge, like someone had drawn a line and said tracks end here. Beyond that line, the snow was completely smooth, untouched. I stood there for a minute, watching my breath freeze in the air, trying to understand what I was seeing. Then I heard it, from deeper down the road, from the darkness ahead. A generator, the distant hum of a generator running. I got back in the truck, kept driving. 5 miles later, I saw lights, warm, yellow lights, glowing through the trees. As I got closer, the shapes resolved into buildings. A small compound, 3 prefab structures around a central clearing, radio tower in the back, emergency lights mounted on poles. A dispatch station. I pulled into the clearing and stopped. Sat there with the engine running, looking at the buildings. The lights were on in all 3 structures. I could see through the windows. Desks, computers, filing cabinets. Everything you'd expect in a remote operations center. But no people, no movement. The generator hummed steadily. Emergency lights blinked their slow rhythm. Everything was running, but nobody was there. I checked my phone. No signal, obviously. Tried the radio again. Still dead. I looked at the clock on my dash, 7:43 p.m. I'd been driving for 5.5 hours. Should have been well past this point by now, closing in on Coldfoot. But I was here, wherever here was. I grabbed my flashlight and got out. The generator noise was louder now, coming from a small shed behind the main building. Steady, reliable diesel generator. probably a commercial unit that could run for days on a single tank. I walked to the first building. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open. Warm air rushed out. The heat was on. I stepped inside. It was an office. Dispatch station. Exactly like I thought. 3 desks with computers all running. Screens showing maps, route tracking, weather data. CB radio on the wall. Lights indicating it was active. On one of the desks, a coffee cup. I touched it, still warm. I looked around the room. Everything was in mid-use. Papers spread out on desks. A half-eaten sandwich on a plate. A jacket draped over a chair. Like everyone had just stepped out for a minute. But the building was freezing inside. Not as cold as outside, but cold. I could see my breath. The heat was on. I could feel it coming from the vents, but it wasn't warming anything. The air was just absorbing it, swallowing it. I checked the computers. All logged in. Active sessions. I clicked on one of the screens, a routing program showing truck positions across Alaska. I found my unit number, Unit 23. It showed me at mile 287. I clicked on the dispatch logs. The most recent entry was from 3 hours ago. Unit 23. Emergency pickup at mile 287. Authorization code 287-287-287. Below that, entries from other trucks. All different numbers. All different dates. Some from last week. Some from last year. Some from 1987. All the same message. Emergency pickup at mile 287. I scrolled back further. The logs went back decades, all the way to 1974, the year they finished building the Dalton Highway. Every entry was the same. Different trucks, different dates, same destination. Mile 287. I stood up from the computer. My heart was pounding. I needed to get out of here, get back to my truck, get back to the main highway. Then I heard the door open behind me. I spun around. Nobody there. The door was closed. But I'd heard it. The distinctive click of the latch, the creak of the hinges. I walked to the door, opened it, looked outside. The clearing was empty. My truck sat where I'd left it, engine still running, headlights cutting through the dark. But something was different. There were more tire tracks in the snow now. Lots of them, dozens. Crisscrossing the clearing, circling the buildings, leading off into the trees. Fresh tracks, made while I was inside. I walked back to my truck faster than I meant to. Not quite running, but close. As I reached for the door handle, I heard it again, from the second building. The door opening, I turned, watched the door swing wide, warm light spilling out. Nobody there. The door stayed open. Waiting. I got in my truck, locked the doors, sat there trying to decide what to do. The GPS screen was flashing. New message. Proceed to Building 2 for cargo pickup. I looked at the open door, at the warm light. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to leave, to put this truck in reverse, get back to the main highway, forget this whole thing. But the Army training was stronger. Complete the mission, follow orders. If there was cargo to pick up, I needed to pick it up. I grabbed my flashlight and got out of the truck again. The walk to Building 2 felt like it took forever. 20 yards across the clearing, but every step was an effort, like walking through water. I reached the door, looked inside. Another office. Same layout as the first building. Desks, computers, maps on the walls. But this one had something different. In the center of the room, on the largest desk, there was a file box. Old cardboard box, the kind used for archives. Lid closed. On the lid, written in marker, Unit 23, Emergency Cargo. Do not open. I walked to the desk. Stood there looking at that box. It was light. I could tell just by looking at it. Whatever was inside wasn't heavy. I picked it up, felt around the edges. Definitely light. Maybe a couple pounds at most. There was tape around the lid, sealing it shut. "Do not open," it said. I carried it back to my truck, put it in the passenger seat, stared at it for a minute. Then I put the truck in gear and started driving back toward the main highway. The auxiliary route looked different on the way out. Longer. The trees seemed thicker, closer. The reflective markers were spaced further apart. It took me 45 minutes to reach the main highway. Should have been 10, maybe 15. When I finally saw the Dalton Highway ahead, I almost cried with relief. I turned south, put the hammer down. Drove faster than I should have on ice. I didn't look at the box, I didn't open it. I just drove. Made it to Coldfoot at 11:18 p.m. Pulled into the truck stop, parked under the brightest light I could find. The box sat on my passenger seat, exactly where I'd left it. "Do not open." I grabbed it and walked into the truck stop. There were 3 other drivers inside, drinking coffee, playing cards. Normal, real, human. I walked up to them. "Any of you guys ever been to mile 287? They looked at me like I'd grown a second head. "Mile 287 doesn't exist, brother," one of them said. "Yeah, I know, but..." I held up the box. "I got a call from dispatch, emergency pickup. They sent me to coordinates at mile 287. "Your dispatch sent you to a mile marker that doesn't exist?" Another driver laughed. "You've been driving too long, man. Get some sleep." I set the box on their table. This is what I picked up from a station out there. Fully operational, lights on, generator running, computers active, but no people. They weren't laughing anymore. They were looking at the box. "You open it?" one asked. "No." "Probably should leave it closed then." "Why?" He shrugged. "Just a feeling." I called my dispatch. Real dispatch, not whoever had been on the radio earlier. Got a supervisor named Janet, who'd been with the company for 20 years. "Janet, did you send Unit 23 to mile 287 tonight?" Long pause. "Marcus, is that you?" "Yeah. Where are you?" "Coldfoot." "You're supposed to be heading to Fairbanks. What are you doing in Coldfoot?" "I got a call from dispatch. Emergency pickup at mile 287. Another long pause. "Marcus, nobody called you. I've been on shift since noon. No emergency pickups, no calls to Unit 23. "I got coordinates. I went to a station. I picked up cargo." "What station?" "There's no station between Prudhoe and Coldfoot except the ones on the main highway." This was on an auxiliary route, off the main road. "Marcus." Her voice got quieter. "There are no auxiliary routes on that stretch. It's just the highway." I looked at the box, at the tape sealing it shut. "Janet, check your dispatch logs. Look for entries about mile 287. I heard keyboard clicking. "Marcus, I'm not finding anything. Our logs only go back 5 years, but there's nothing here about..." She stopped. "Wait, what?" "There's a note in the system. Looks like it was entered manually, not part of the normal logs. It says, 'If Unit 23 calls about mile 287, refer to archived records. Do not dispatch assistance. Do not acknowledge.'" What the hell does that mean? I don't know. I've never seen this before. Who entered it? More clicking. It doesn't show a user. It's just there. "Janet, I need you to tell me what's in the archived records." "Marcus, I don't have access to archived records. Those are in physical storage at the main office. I can request them, but it'll take days. I need them now. I can't, Janet." I kept my voice steady. "I have a box. It says Unit 23, Emergency Cargo. Do not open. I need to know what this is." Silence on the line. Then, Don't open it, Marcus. Whatever you do, don't open that box. I'm sending someone to pick it up. Stay where you are. Who's coming? I don't know yet. Just stay there. Don't open it. Don't leave Coldfoot. I'll call you back. She hung up. I sat there in the truck stop, staring at that box, waiting for Janet to call back. She never did. That was the end of part 1. I should have thrown the box away, should have left it at the truck stop and driven straight home. But I didn't, because even then, sitting there at Coldfoot, I could hear it. From inside the box. Faint, barely audible, breathing. Slow, steady breathing. Something inside that box was alive. I waited at Coldfoot for 3 hours, called Janet back 6 times, went straight to voicemail every time. Called the main office. Got a recording saying they were closed for the night, call back during business hours. The other drivers had left. It was just me and the night clerk, a Yupik woman in her 60s who'd been working there since the highway opened. I brought the box inside and set it on the counter. "You hear that?" I asked her. She leaned close, listened. "I don't hear anything." The breathing inside the box. She pulled back. "Don't hear breathing, but I don't think you should open it." "Why?" "Because it says don't open it. Usually there's a reason for that. Have you ever heard of mile 287? Her expression changed. Something flickered across her face. Recognition, maybe, or fear. "Where'd you hear about that?" "I was there, tonight. Got sent there by dispatch." She shook her head. "Nobody gets sent there." "I did." "Then you shouldn't have gone." "Why? What is it?" She looked at the box, then at me. "My grandson drove trucks. 5 years ago, he got a call, emergency pickup at mile 287. I told him not to go. He went anyway." She paused. "They found his truck 3 days later, on the main highway right around mile marker 200. Engine running, heat on, radio active. But Jimmy was gone, just gone. Did they ever find him? No. But his last radio transmission, they said he was talking about a box. Said he had to deliver it, said he couldn't open it, said something inside was..." She stopped. "Was what?" "Counting." I looked at the box, listened, breathing, definitely breathing. But now that she mentioned it, there was a rhythm to it. Not random, deliberate like counting. Breath in, 1, breath out, 2, breath in, 3. "What happened to the box?" I asked. "Don't know. Nobody knows. It disappeared from the evidence locker. Security footage showed nothing. It was there one day, gone the next." I grabbed the box and walked back to my truck. Started the engine. Sat there trying to decide. I could leave it here, walk away, let someone else deal with it. But what if it followed me? What if that's what it did? Latched on to whoever picked it up, stayed with them until... Until what? I needed answers, real answers. Not old women's stories and missing truck drivers. I pulled out my phone, Googled mile 287 Dalton Highway. Most of the results were what I expected. Forums discussing the missing mile marker, jokes about it, theories about the surveying error. But one result caught my eye. An old newspaper article from the Fairbanks Daily News Miner. 1974. Highway worker disappears during Dalton construction. I clicked on it. The article was brief. A surveyor named Donald Marsh had disappeared while marking mileposts on the newly constructed Dalton Highway. His equipment was found at what should have been mile 287, but Marsh was gone. Search teams found no trace. The case was never solved. At the bottom of the article, a single line. Marsh's last radio transmission recorded by his supervisor consisted of him counting backward from 287. I looked at the box. It was still breathing, still counting. I put the phone down, started driving south. I needed to get to Fairbanks, needed to get this box to the main office, make it someone else's problem. Someone who knew what they were dealing with. The highway was empty. Just me and the darkness. Around mile marker 230, my headlights caught something on the side of the road. A truck. Pulled over on the shoulder. Hazards blinking. I slowed down. It's the unwritten rule up here. You always stop. Always check. The cold will kill you in minutes. You don't leave people stranded. I pulled up behind the truck, put on my own hazards, grabbed my flashlight. The truck was a Kenworth, maybe 10 years old. Company logo I didn't recognize. No lights in the cab. I walked up to the driver's side, knocked on the window. No response. I tried the door, unlocked. I opened it. The cab was empty. Keys in the ignition, engine off. Ice had already started forming on the inside of the windshield. This truck had been here for hours, maybe longer. On the dashboard, a box, same size as mine. Same "do not open" warning. Tape seal broken. Lid slightly ajar. I reached for it without thinking, then stopped myself. What the hell was I doing? I backed away from the truck, looked around. "Hello? Anyone out here?" The wind answered, nothing else. I walked a circle around the truck, shining my flashlight into the darkness. No footprints in the snow except mine. Nobody had gotten out of this truck. Not recently. I went back to my rig. The box was where I'd left it, on the passenger seat. Still breathing, I drove away, left that other truck sitting there abandoned. What else could I do? At mile marker 200, my radio crackled to life. "Unit 23, this is dispatch." Same flat voice from before. I grabbed the handset. "This is Unit 23, who is this? You have the cargo. Deliver to mile 287. I picked up the cargo from mile 287. I'm delivering it to Fairbanks. Incorrect. Deliver to mile 287. There is no mile 287. Silence. Then, you were there. You know it exists. I'm not going back. You must deliver the cargo. To where? The dispatch station? There's nobody there. Deliver to mile 287. You have 284 miles remaining." I looked at my odometer. I'd been driving south for almost 2 hours. Should have put at least 80 miles between me and Coldfoot, but the odometer showed I'd driven 12 miles. 12 miles in 2 hours. That was impossible. I looked in my rearview mirror. The road behind me stretched into darkness. How far back was Coldfoot? How far had I actually traveled? The box on the passenger seat was breathing faster now. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, not counting anymore, panting, like it was excited. "Unit 23, you have 283 miles remaining." I turned off the radio, ripped the handset out and threw it in the back of the cab. The voice continued from the speakers. 282 miles remaining. I punched the radio, the faceplate cracked. The voice stopped. My GPS screen flickered. New message. Return to mile 287. 281 miles remaining. I grabbed the GPS and threw it out the window, watched it shatter on the ice in my side mirror. The dashboard screen in my truck, the one built into the dash, permanent, impossible to remove, lit up with the same message. Return to mile 287, 280 miles remaining. I was going south. I knew I was going south. The mile markers confirmed it. 200, 199, 198. But somehow, the distance to mile 287 was increasing, like I was driving toward it while trying to drive away. At mile marker 195, I saw the lights again. The same compound, the same 3 buildings. But I was south of it. I'd driven past it hours ago, going north. It should have been behind me, but here it was, in front of me, waiting. Proceed to Building 2 for cargo return. I drove past it, didn't slow down, didn't look. In my side mirror, I watched the lights fade, watched the buildings disappear into the darkness. The box was shaking now, vibrating on the passenger seat. The breathing had turned into something else. Whispers. Faint, overlapping whispers. I couldn't make out words, but I could hear them. Dozens of voices. Hundreds. All whispering the same thing. I covered the box with my jacket. It didn't help. The whispers got louder. At mile marker 190, I passed another abandoned truck. Different model than the first one, but same company logo as mine. Inside, on the dashboard, another box. Lid closed. Tape intact. Do not open, mile marker 185. Another truck, another box, mile marker 180. 2 trucks, 2 boxes. They were everywhere, every few miles. Some pulled over neatly on the shoulder. Some stopped dead in the middle of the road, forcing me to swerve around them. All empty, all with boxes. How many drivers had gotten the call? How many had gone to mile 287? How many had picked up their cargo and tried to deliver it, only to end up here, stopped on the highway, truck abandoned, driver gone? Return to mile 287, 250 miles remaining. The distance was increasing faster now. I'd driven south for 10 miles, but the distance to mile 287 had increased by 30. I was losing ground. The more I drove away, the closer it got. I pulled over, stopped the truck, sat there with my hands on the wheel trying to think. The box was screaming now. Not whispers anymore, actual screams, muffled by the cardboard, but unmistakable. Screams of pain, terror, rage. I grabbed it and got out of the truck, walked 10 yards from the road, set the box down in the snow, walked back to my truck, started the engine, drove away. In my side mirror, I watched the box sitting there in the snow, watched it get smaller, watched it disappear into the darkness. The screaming stopped, the radio silence returned, the dashboard screen went blank. I drove for 20 minutes in complete quiet. No voices, no messages, no breathing, just the sound of my engine and the wind outside. I was going to make it. I was going to get to Fairbanks. I was going to... The box was on my passenger seat. I hadn't stopped, hadn't turned around, hadn't gone back. But the box was there, right where it had been before, covered by my jacket, exactly as I'd left it, except the tape seal was broken now. The lid was slightly open, and from inside, I could see light. Faint blue light, pulsing like a heartbeat. Return to mile 287, 240 miles remaining. I reached for the box. I was going to throw it out the window, drive over it, anything to get rid of it. My hand stopped inches from the lid. I couldn't touch it. Not because something was stopping me, because I knew, absolutely knew, that if I touched it now, with the seal broken, I would open it. I wouldn't be able to stop myself, and whatever was inside would get out. I pulled my hand back, kept driving. The abandoned trucks were multiplying, every mile now, sometimes 2 or 3 at once, dozens of them, hundreds, all empty, all with boxes on their dashboards. Some of the boxes were closed, some were open. The open ones glowed with that same blue light, and from those open boxes something was emerging. I couldn't see what, couldn't look directly at it, but in my peripheral vision, I could sense movement. Shapes, figures. They were standing beside the abandoned trucks, waiting, watching me drive past. At mile marker 150, the figures started walking toward the road. Slow, shambling steps. They didn't try to stop me, just walked, following, building into a crowd, By mile marker 145, there were dozens of them. By mile marker 140, hundreds. All following my truck, all walking the same direction I was driving. South, toward Fairbanks, or toward whatever Fairbanks had become. Return to mile 287, 200 miles remaining. I was at mile marker 135. That meant mile 287 should be 152 miles behind me. But the message said 200 miles remaining. The math didn't work. The geography didn't work. Nothing worked. The box was wide open now. The lid had fallen off completely. Blue light flooded the cab of my truck, so bright I could barely see the road. And from the box, something was rising. Not physically, nothing was coming out of the box, but I could feel it. A presence, growing, expanding, filling the cab. It wanted me to look, wanted me to see what was inside. I kept my eyes on the road. "Look at me," the box said. Not whispered, not through speakers. Just said it directly into my mind. No. Look at me and understand. No. You came to mile 287. You picked me up. You are the driver. You must deliver me. I don't deliver things that talk. You will deliver me to where I need to go. Where's that? Everywhere. The blue light pulsed brighter. I could feel it burning my skin, smell my hair starting to singe. Look at me. My eyes were starting to move, against my will, turning toward the passenger seat, toward the box, toward whatever was inside. I slammed on the brakes. The truck skidded, spun 90 degrees, stopped facing east, perpendicular to the highway. The box tumbled off the passenger seat, fell into the footwell. The blue light dimmed. The presence retreated. Just slightly. I put the truck in park, got out, stood in the middle of the highway in -30 cold, trying to breathe. The figures were still coming, still walking toward me. I could see them clearly now in my headlights. They weren't people, not anymore. They were shapes that had once been people. Outlines, silhouettes filled with that same blue light. And they were all carrying boxes. Unopened boxes. They were delivering their cargo, just like me, just like all the other drivers who'd been called to mile 287, delivering it to wherever it needed to go. Everywhere. I got back in the truck, reached down into the footwell, grabbed the box without looking at it, felt something grab back. Not a hand, not fingers, something else. Something that wanted to merge, to combine, to make me part of whatever it was. I threw the box out the window. It hit the snow and rolled. The blue light spilled out, illuminating the road. The figures stopped walking, turned toward the box. They started moving faster, converging on it. I put the truck in gear and drove, east, away from the highway, into the tundra. I had no idea where I was going. Didn't matter. Anywhere was better than that road. My truck plowed through snow, bounced over frozen ground. I kept the accelerator down, kept moving. Behind me, the blue light faded. The figures disappeared. The highway vanished into the darkness. I drove for an hour, maybe more, until I saw something ahead. Buildings, small settlement, lights and windows. I drove toward it. Please be real. Please be people. Please be... It was the dispatch station. Mile 287. I'd driven in a circle. Or the station had moved. Or space had folded. I didn't know. Didn't matter. I was back. "Welcome back, Unit 23, the radio said. "Proceed to Building 2 for cargo pickup." I turned off the engine. Sat there, staring at the buildings. The box was on my passenger seat again. Lid closed. Tape seal intact. Like nothing had happened. Do not open. That was the end of part 2. I couldn't leave. Couldn't drive away. The station would always be in front of me, no matter which direction I went. I was caught, trapped, same as all the other drivers, and the box was waiting, patient. It had all the time in the world. Because at mile 287, time didn't matter. Nothing mattered except the delivery. I sat in my truck for 45 minutes staring at those buildings. The box breathed quietly on the passenger seat. The lights in the dispatch station windows glowed warm and inviting, completely at odds with the -30 darkness surrounding them. Finally, I got out. Not because I wanted to, because staying in the truck felt worse. At least moving was doing something, even if I didn't know what. I walked to Building 1 first, the main office, pushed open the door. Everything was exactly as I'd left it hours ago. The warm coffee cup still on the desk, the half-eaten sandwich, the computers running their endless tracking programs. But something was different. The dispatch logs on the main screen had updated. New entries, all time-stamped within the last hour. Unit 47, departed mile 287, status delivering. Unit 52, departed. Mile 287, status delivering. Unit 61, departed. Mile 287, status delivering. There were dozens of them, all different unit numbers, all departed within the last hour, all delivering. But I was the only truck here, the only truck I'd seen in hours. I clicked on Unit 47. A profile opened. Driver name, James Holloway. Date, February 14th, 1983. 36 years ago. But it showed him as departed 1 hour ago. I clicked on another, Unit 52. Driver, Patricia Chen. Date, November 3rd, 1991. Another, Unit 61. Driver, Michael Reeves. Date, August 17, 2006. All different years. All departed within the last hour. I understood then. Time wasn't linear here. All the drivers who'd ever come to mile 287 were still here. Still delivering. Still trapped in the same moment. Repeated forever. And I'd just joined them. I walked out of Building 1. Looked at Building 2, the one where I'd picked up the box. The door was open. Light spilling out. A figure stood in the doorway. Silhouette against the light. Human-shaped, but I couldn't make out details. "You opened it," the figure said. Male voice, flat, emotionless. "No," I said. "The seal broke on its own. They all say that." "Who are you?" "I'm the dispatcher. I've been here since the beginning." "Since 1974? "Since before that. Since this road was planned. Since surveyors first walked this route. Since the first person counted miles and reached 287. The figure stepped forward. Into the light from the emergency lamps. He was wearing a surveyor's vest. Old style from the 70s. Name tag on the chest, D. Marsh, Donald Marsh, the surveyor who disappeared in 1974. "You're dead," I said. "No, I'm delivering." "Delivering what?" He gestured at the compound, at the buildings, at the darkness beyond. "This, mile 287. It needs to spread, needs to exist in more places. That's what the boxes do. They carry mile 287 to new locations. Every driver who picks one up becomes a node, a connection point. I'm not delivering anything. You already are. You drove south. You tried to reach Fairbanks, but you brought mile 287 with you. Every mile you drove, you were creating a new connection. By the time you turned around, you'd spread it across 30 miles of highway." I thought about the abandoned trucks, the figures walking, the blue light spreading. Those other drivers, they succeeded. They delivered their cargo. Mile 2887 now exists at every point between here and Fairbanks, between here and Anchorage, between here and Juneau, spreading across Alaska, one delivery at a time. Why? Because places need to exist. Mile 287 was denied existence by a surveyor's error, so it created its own existence, and now it's claiming territory, mile by mile, driver by driver. I won't do it. Marcia smiled. You already did. The moment you picked up the box, you became part of the system. You can't stop now. The cargo must be delivered. To where? Everywhere. Until every mile is 287. Until the whole highway is claimed. I backed away from him. He didn't follow, just stood there watching. I ran to my truck, got in, started the engine. The box was gone from the passenger seat. I looked in the back. Gone. I checked the footwell, under the seats, in the sleeper cab. Gone. Looking for this. Marsh was standing next to my driver's side window, holding the box. I locked the doors. He set the box on my hood. You can't lock it out, it's already inside. I looked at the dashboard. The box was there, on the passenger seat, unopened. Marsh was still holding an identical box outside. How many boxes are there? I asked through the window. As many as needed. One for every driver, one for every mile. I put the truck in reverse. Marsh stepped back, watched me go. I drove backward, away from the compound. Didn't care where I was going, just away. The buildings disappeared into darkness. I was in the tundra again, driving blind in reverse, following my own tire tracks by feel. After 10 minutes I stopped, put it in park, looked around. Nothing but darkness in every direction. The box sat on the passenger seat, unopened, waiting. I grabbed my flashlight, got out, walked 20 yards from the truck. The cold was brutal. I could feel it in my lungs, in my bones. 5 minutes out here and I'd start getting frostbite. 10 minutes and I'd lose fingers and toes. 30 minutes and I'd be dead. But I needed to think, needed to get away from the box even if just for a minute. I stood there in the darkness, watching my breath freeze in the air. Then I heard them. Engines. Multiple engines. Coming from every direction. I spun around, shining my flashlight into the dark. Headlights. Dozens of them, hundreds. All around me, forming a circle. The other drivers. All the units that had departed from mile 287 in the last 50 years. They were all here, all driving, all delivering. And they were all converging on me. I ran back to my truck, got in, locked the doors. The headlights got closer. I could see the trucks now. Old models, new models, different companies, different colors. But all with the same thing on their dashboards. Boxes. Glowing with blue light. They formed a wall around me, completely surrounded. No way out. Then, one by one, they turned off their engines. Silence. Complete silence. All those trucks, all those drivers, and not a sound. I waited. What else could I do? After 5 minutes, the driver's door of the nearest truck opened. Someone got out. A woman, middle-aged, wearing a company jacket from a freight line that went out of business in the 90s. She walked to my truck, knocked on the window. I didn't move. She knocked again. You need to deliver the cargo. No. You have to. We all had to. Where are you delivering yours? She pointed south. Fairbanks. Like I was supposed to. Like I've been doing for 27 years. You've been driving for 27 years? Not straight through. I stop sometimes. Sleep, eat, but always wake up back in the truck. Always with the cargo. Always delivering. Another driver got out of another truck. An old man this time. I've been delivering for 43 years, he said. Started in 1976. Still haven't reached my destination. More drivers emerged, all of them walking toward my truck, surrounding it. 32 years, 19 years, 8 years, 50 years, I was one of the first. They all had the same look in their eyes, exhausted, defeated, but still moving, still delivering. You can't fight it, the woman said. The cargo wants to be delivered. It will be delivered. The only choice you have is whether you deliver it willingly or whether it forces you. What happens if it forces me? She pulled back her sleeve. Her arm was covered in blue light. Not on the skin, in the skin. Glowing from inside. Like she was being consumed from within. This is what happens, she said. The longer you resist, the more it takes. Eventually, there won't be anything left of you, just a driver, just a delivery system, no thoughts, no will, no self. Just the cargo and the destination. I looked at my own hands. They looked normal, for now. How long do I have? Depends. Some people last years, some people last days. There's a driver around here somewhere who only lasted 3 hours. Tried to burn his box. The fire wouldn't touch it, but it touched him. He's still driving, still delivering, just less. How do I stop it? You don't. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You can't stop it. You can only deliver it. And then what? She shrugged. I don't know. None of us have reached our destinations yet. Maybe we never will. Maybe the destination keeps moving. Maybe the point is the delivery, not the arrival. That's insane. Yeah. She smiled, sad, broken smile. It is. She walked back to her truck. All the other drivers did the same. One by one, they got in their vehicles, started their engines, and then they left. Just drove away. Scattered in all directions. Back to their routes. Back to their endless deliveries. I was alone again. I looked at the box on my passenger seat. It was different now. The tape seal wasn't just broken, it was gone completely. The lid was open. Not wide open, just slightly ajar. And from inside, I could hear music. Not screaming, not whispers. Music. A melody. Familiar. Something I knew but couldn't place. I leaned closer, tried to identify it. It was Ramble On, the Led Zeppelin song I'd been listening to when this all started, but played backward. Slow. Distorted. And underneath the music, words. Counting. 287, 286, 285. Counting down. Getting lower with each number. I understood suddenly. The cargo wasn't spreading mile 287 outward. It was pulling everything inward, toward a center point, toward zero. When the count reached zero, what would happen? Would mile 287 swallow everything? Would Alaska disappear? Would the whole highway collapse into a single point of impossible geography? I reached for the box. My hand stopped. Because I could see inside now. Just slightly. Just enough. And what I saw wasn't cargo. It was a road. A highway. Stretching into infinite distance. And on that highway, trucks. Thousands of them, millions, all driving, all delivering, all trapped. The box wasn't cargo. It was the destination. Every driver who delivered their box would end up on that highway, driving forever, becoming part of mile 287's infinite loop. And I was next. No, I said aloud. The music stopped, the counting stopped, the box slammed shut. So hard it cracked the dashboard. Then it spoke, not in words, in feelings, pure emotion, transmitted directly into my mind. Rage, hunger, impatience. It was done waiting. It was done, being patient. It was time for me to deliver. My hands moved on their own, started the engine, put the truck in gear. I tried to fight it, tried to stop my hands from moving, couldn't. The cargo had waited long enough. Now it was taking control. I watched myself drive, watched my hands on the wheel, my foot on the accelerator, my eyes on the road. But I wasn't doing it. I was just along for the ride. The truck headed south, back toward the Dalton Highway, back toward civilization, back toward Fairbanks, where everyone was waiting, where Mile 287 would spread like a virus, where the cargo would be delivered. That was the end of Part 3. I'd lost. The cargo had won. I was going to deliver it whether I wanted to or not. And when I did, Mile 287 would claim another piece of reality. Another mile. Another town. Another stretch of highway. Until there was nothing left but delivery routes and drivers and cargo. Until everything was Mile 287. Unless I could find one last way to fight back. Unless the part of me that was still me could find a way to stop what was coming. But I was running out of time. The count was at 147. And falling. I drove south for 3 hours. My hands obeyed the cargo, but my mind was still mine, for now. At mile marker 100, I passed a road crew. Real people. Real equipment. Working on the highway in the middle of the night. I tried to honk, tried to wave, tried to signal that something was wrong. My hands stayed locked on the wheel. My foot stayed on the accelerator. They waved as I passed. Friendly. Oblivious. I wanted to scream. Couldn't. The counting from the box had reached 89. Every mile I drove south, it counted down one number. At 0, I would reach Fairbanks. At 0, the delivery would be complete. At mile marker 75, I saw the city lights in the distance. Fairbanks. Civilization. Home. Except it wasn't home anymore, because I could see them, between me and the city. Hundreds of trucks, maybe thousands, all parked, all waiting. All the other drivers who'd delivered their cargo to Fairbanks over the years. They were forming a perimeter, a containment zone. Mile 287 had already claimed the city, and now it was using me to expand further. When I delivered my cargo, the perimeter would expand, include more territory, more roads, more people. The counting reached 50. I had 50 miles left, 50 miles to find a way to stop this. My phone rang. I couldn't answer it. My hands wouldn't let go of the wheel. But I could see the screen. It was Janet, from dispatch, real dispatch. The phone rang 20 times, then went to voicemail. She called back, and again, and again. On the 4th attempt, the cargo let me answer. Put the call on speaker. "Marcus!" Janet's voice was frantic. "Where are you?" Mile 75, heading south. "You need to turn around, right now." "I can't." "What do you mean you can't?" "The cargo. It's controlling me. I can't stop the truck." Silence on the line. Then, "Marcus, I need you to listen to me very carefully. We found the archived records. We know what Mile 287 is. Tell me." In 1974, during the highway construction, a surveyor named Donald Marsh discovered something. A geographical anomaly. A point where the normal rules of space and distance didn't apply. He documented it, tried to warn people, but his supervisors buried the reports. Why? Because if they acknowledged the anomaly, they'd have to stop a construction. Reroute the entire highway, cost millions, so they just skipped it. Designated the mile markers to jump from 286 to 288. Pretended Mile 287 didn't exist. But it did exist. Yes. And when you deny something's existence, sometimes it fights back. Mile 287 became aware, became hungry. It wanted to exist, so it started claiming drivers, using them to spread, to force reality to acknowledge it. How many drivers has it taken? We don't know. The records are incomplete, but we estimate over 300 in the last 50 years. How do I stop it? Long pause. You can't. Janet, Marcus, listen. Every driver who's picked up cargo from mile 287 has delivered it. Every single one. There's no record of anyone escaping. You can't fight it. Then why are you calling me? Because I need to warn Fairbanks. If you deliver that cargo, the containment zone will expand. We estimate it'll claim another 40 miles of highway, include 3 smaller towns, over 2,000 people. Evacuate them. We can't. We don't have authority. Nobody believes this is real. We have documented evidence going back 50 years, and nobody believes it. Then what do I do? You, she stopped. I heard her breathing, trying to decide. You drive off the road, now. While you still can, crash the truck, destroy the cargo. I told you, I can't control, I know. But you still have your feet, you still have your body weight. Throw yourself against the wheel, force it. The cargo controls your hands, but it can't control everything. Not yet. I looked at the wheel, felt my hands locked in place. She was right. I could feel my feet, could shift my weight. If I crash, I'll die. If you deliver, thousands of people will join mile 287. You'll be saving them. Janet, I have a daughter. I know. I'm sorry. The counting reached 30. I had 30 miles. I looked at the road ahead. Straight, flat, perfect conditions. I looked at the shoulder. Steep embankment. If I went off there, the truck would roll. Probably multiple times. The cargo would survive. It always did. But maybe I could bury it. Deep enough that it would take years to dig out. Buy some time. I took a deep breath, threw my weight against the wheel. Nothing happened. My hands held firm. I tried again. Harder. The wheel didn't budge. It's not working. Keep trying. You have to... The call cut off. I looked at my phone. No signal. The counting reached 20. I passed a sign, Fairbanks, 20 miles. I could see the perimeter of trucks clearly now. They were arranged in a perfect circle around the city. Headlights all facing inward, like they were holding something in or keeping something out. As I got closer, I could see the drivers, standing next to their trucks. Hundreds of them, all watching me approach, waiting for me to join them, waiting for the delivery to complete. The counting reached 10. I tried everything, threw my whole body against the wheel, tried to hit the brakes with my hand, tried to shift into neutral. Nothing worked. The cargo had complete control now. 5 miles. I could see inside the perimeter, could see Fairbanks, except it wasn't Fairbanks anymore. The buildings were wrong, twisted, like they existed in multiple places at once. The streets looped back on themselves. Nothing made geometric sense. Mile 287 had already consumed the city. Everyone inside was trapped, living in an impossible geography. Going to work, going home, living their lives, never realizing they were walking in circles. Never escaping. 2 miles. The drivers outside the perimeter were waving, welcoming me. I recognized some of them from the tundra. The woman who'd shown me her glowing arm. The old man who'd been driving for 43 years. They all looked the same. Tired, defeated, but still moving. Still delivering. 1 mile. The box opened completely. Blue light flooded the cab. I could see the highway inside. Could see all the trucks driving on it. Could see my future. An eternal delivery route. No stops, no rest, no end, just driving. Forever. The counting reached 0. I crossed into the perimeter. The other drivers closed in behind me, sealing the gap, making the circle complete. My truck stopped. Engine still running, but stopped. My hands released the wheel. I could move again. I grabbed the door handle, pulled, locked, from the outside. All the doors were locked. I was trapped inside the cab. The blue light from the box intensified. I could feel it pulling me, drawing me toward it. I pressed myself against the driver's side door, as far from the box as I could get. Marcus Webb. The cargo spoke my name, not in words, in knowledge. It knew everything about me, my history, my family, my fears, my daughter. "No," I said, "don't. She will make an excellent driver. In 10 years, when she's old enough, we will call her. She will come, like you came. Stay away from her, unless you deliver the cargo, complete the route. Then she will be spared." "You're lying." "We never lie. We simply exist and expand. Complete the delivery and your daughter will never receive the call." I looked at the box, at the highway inside it. I looked at the perimeter of trucks, at the trapped city beyond. I looked at my hands. They were starting to glow. Faint blue light under the skin. The transformation was beginning. Complete the delivery. I reached for the box. My hand stopped an inch away, because I realized something. I'd already delivered it. I was inside the perimeter, inside mile 287's territory. I'd brought the cargo exactly where it needed to go. The delivery was complete, but the cargo was still here, still in the box, still waiting. Because the delivery wasn't about location, it was about acceptance. As long as I didn't accept it, didn't open the box fully, didn't embrace what was inside, the delivery remained incomplete. I pulled my hand back. "No," I said. "You must complete the delivery." "I already did. I brought the cargo where it needed to go. That's all you asked for. You must open the box. You must join the highway." "That wasn't part of the deal. You said deliver the cargo. I delivered it, here, to Fairbanks, to mile 287. I'm done." The blue light flickered, uncertain. "You cannot refuse." "I just did." The light intensified, burning. I could smell my hair singeing, could feel my skin blistering, but I didn't reach for the box. "You will die here, in this truck, without ever leaving." "Fine. You will starve, freeze, waste away, but you will never die. Mile 287 will keep you alive, forever trapped, until you complete the delivery. Then I'll be trapped forever." The cargo was screaming now, not in anger, in frustration, in confusion, because no driver had ever refused before. Every other driver had eventually given in, opened the box, joined the highway. But I wasn't going to. I was going to sit here, in this truck, forever if necessary. Because if I opened that box, mile 287 would expand, would claim more territory, would trap more people, would eventually call my daughter, and I couldn't let that happen. The blue light dimmed, just slightly. "You are stronger than the others." "No, I'm just more stubborn." "Stubbornness will not save you. Don't need saving, just need to not open that box." Silence, long silence. Then the cargo spoke again, different tone, almost respectful. "You understand what you are choosing?" "Yes." "Eternal imprisonment. Endless waiting, no escape, no relief." "Yes." "For what? A daughter who will forget you. A world that will never know what you sacrificed." "Don't need them to know. I know." The light dimmed further. "We could make you open it. Force your hands. Control your mind completely. But you haven't, which means you can't. Not anymore. I'm inside the perimeter, inside your territory. The rules are different here. More silence. Then, impossibly, the cargo laughed. A sound like grinding metal, like ice cracking, like the earth splitting. You are correct. Inside mile 287, the cargo cannot force the final acceptance. It can only wait. We did not account for a driver who would refuse even when trapped. Guess you learn something new every day, or every 50 years. The box closed, not slammed shut. Gently, almost carefully, the blue light went out completely. You have won this round, Marcus Webb, but the game is not over. You will sit in this truck, inside the perimeter, and you will wait. And eventually, years, decades, centuries from now, you will grow desperate enough to open the box. They always do. We'll see. Yes, we will see. The presence withdrew, not gone, just distant, waiting. I sat back in the driver's seat, looked out the window. The other drivers were still there, still watching, but they looked different, confused, uncertain, because I'd done something they hadn't. I'd said no, and I was still here, still me, still free, in a way. I don't know how long I've been sitting here. Time doesn't work right inside the perimeter. My watch stopped. My phone died. The sun doesn't rise or set, just a constant twilight. But I'm still here, still waiting, still refusing to open that box. The other drivers come by sometimes, tap on my window, ask how I'm doing it, how I'm resisting. I tell them the truth. I'm not resisting, I'm just choosing. Every second, I choose not to open the box. Every minute, I choose to stay trapped. Every hour, I choose my daughter's freedom over mine. It's not heroic. It's not brave. It's just a choice. One I make over and over, forever. The cargo speaks to me sometimes, asks if I'm ready, asks if I want to join the highway, promises it will be easier than this, easier than endless waiting. I always say no, and I'll keep saying no, for as long as it takes, or forever, whichever comes first. If you're reading this, it means someone found my notes, found my truck sitting inside the perimeter with a driver who won't get out, won't move, won't open the box. Don't try to help me, don't try to remove me. Just warn people. Warn every driver in Alaska. If you get a call from mile 287, don't go. If dispatch sends you coordinates that don't exist, refuse. If you see a box that says "do not open," believe it. Because once you pick up that cargo, you only have two choices. Deliver it and lose yourself forever. Or refuse and stay trapped forever. I chose the second option. And I'd choose it again, every time. My daughter turned 18 last year. I know because I can feel it. Time might not work here, but some things transcend time. She never got the call. Mile 287 never reached out to her. My choice worked. And that makes this worth it. This endless waiting, this eternal twilight, this cage of my own making. It's worth it. The cargo asks me less frequently now, maybe once a month, maybe once a year. Hard to tell. I think it's starting to understand. I'm never going to open that box. Never. And maybe, just maybe, that's teaching it something. That existence can be denied, that expansion can be stopped, that even impossible geography has limits. Or maybe I'm just fooling myself. Maybe I'm already on that highway, driving in circles, and this is just a dream my mind created to cope. Maybe I opened the box years ago and don't remember. Maybe there is no perimeter, no truck, no choice. Maybe there's just mile 287, forever and always. But I don't think so. Because I can still feel the steering wheel under my hands, can still smell diesel and snow, can still hear the other drivers outside, walking past, delivering their eternal cargo, and I can still see the box, sitting on my passenger seat, closed, waiting for a choice I'll never make. The radio crackled to life an hour ago, or a year ago, or yesterday. It was Janet. "Marcus, can you hear me?" I couldn't respond. My voice doesn't work anymore. Been too long since I used it, but I could listen. "Marcus, if you can hear this, we're going to try something. We think we've found a way to collapse the perimeter, to shut down mile 287, but it requires destroying everything inside the containment zone. Everyone inside will be lost, including you." Pause. "We need your permission. We need to know you're still in there, still choosing, still refusing." Long pause. "If you can hear this, flash your headlights. Once for yes, twice for no." I looked at my hands, tried to move them. They wouldn't respond. The cargo had been right about one thing. Eventually, the body stops obeying. Not because the cargo takes control, because the body forgets how. I couldn't flash my lights. "Marcus, please, we need to know you're still you." I tried again, focused everything I had on my right hand, on the headlight switch. My finger moved, 1/4 of an inch. Not enough. We're running out of time. If we don't hear from you in 1 minute, we have to assume you've been compromised. We have to assume the cargo won. 30 seconds, I pushed harder. Every remaining scrap of will, every memory of my daughter, every reason I'd stayed. My finger touched the switch. 20 seconds, I pressed. Nothing happened. Too weak. The switch needed more force. 10 seconds, I pressed harder. Felt something in my finger crack. Didn't care. The switch clicked. My headlights flashed. Once. "Marcus! Oh God, you're still there. You're still fighting." I tried to smile. Couldn't. Okay. We're going to do this. We're going to end it. It's going to hurt. I'm sorry, but you'll finally be free." Free? I didn't remember what that meant. Countdown starting. 10 seconds. I looked at the box. It was glowing again. Faint blue light. It knew what was coming. 5 seconds. The cargo spoke one last time. "You won, Marcus Webb. You actually won." 4 seconds. "No one has ever beaten us before." 3 seconds. "We will remember you. When we spread to new places, when we claim new roads, when we call new drivers." 2 seconds. "We will remember the one who said no." 1 second. "Thank you for the lesson." The blue light went out. The box closed. And everything ended. I'm writing this from a hospital in Anchorage. Or I think it's a hospital, hard to tell. Everything's fuzzy. They tell me I was found in my truck on the Dalton Highway near mile marker 200. Unconscious, hypothermic, barely alive. They tell me I'd been there for 3 days. Only 3 days, but I remember years, decades, centuries of waiting. The doctors say it was a psychotic break, brought on by isolation and exhaustion. They say I drove off the road during a whiteout, got disoriented, and my mind invented the rest. They say mile 287 doesn't exist. They say there was no box. They say I'm lucky to be alive. Maybe they're right. Maybe it was all a hallucination. Maybe I imagined the whole thing, but when I close my eyes, I can still see it. The highway inside the box. The trucks driving forever. The blue light. And sometimes, late at night, I hear it, the counting. 287, 286, 285. Getting quieter, but never stopping. And I know, I absolutely know, that somewhere out there, on a road that doesn't exist, at a mile marker that was never designated, there's a dispatch station with lights on and computers running and a box, waiting for the next driver, waiting for the next call, waiting for the next person who'll make the wrong choice, or the right one, depending on how you look at it. My daughter came to visit yesterday. She's 23 now, working as a logistics coordinator. She asked if I wanted to come back to work, said they need experienced drivers, said there's a route opening up. Prudhoe Bay to Fairbanks. Good pay. Easy run. I told her no. I told her I'm done driving. She asked why. I couldn't tell her the truth, that I'd already driven enough, that I'd delivered my last cargo, that some routes, once you drive them, change you forever. So I just said I was tired. She understood. Before she left, she mentioned something that made my blood run cold. "Oh, by the way," she said, "I got a weird call last week from a dispatch center I've never heard of. They wanted me to pick up cargo from some mile marker. 287, I think. Isn't that weird? That mile marker doesn't even exist." I looked at her. "What did you tell them?" I hung up, obviously. "I'm not driving to a place that doesn't exist." She laughed, though the pay they offered was insane. Triple rate. Made me almost consider it. "Don't," I said. "Don't ever consider it." "Why? You know something about it." "Just trust me. If they call again, hang up. Don't go, no matter what they offer." She looked at me strangely. "Okay, Dad, whatever you say." She hasn't mentioned it since, but I watch her phone every time we talk, waiting for it to ring, waiting for that call, knowing that if it comes, I can't stop her. All I can do is hope she makes the right choice, the same choice I made, to refuse, to say no, to understand that some cargo should never be delivered, and some roads should never be driven, even if they call your name, even if they promise answers, even if they exist in the space between 1 mile and the next, especially then. They tell you the ice bridge is the most dangerous part of the run. They tell you to cross it quick, no stopping, no looking down through the ice at the water below. They tell you a lot of things before your first winter crossing. What they don't tell you is that some people never finish crossing. Not because they fall through, not because the ice gives way. They just never reach the other side. My name is Robert Chen. No relation to anyone famous, just a third-generation trucker from Seattle who thought Alaska would be an adventure. I was 34 years old when this happened. Now I'm 39, and I still cross that bridge every time I close my eyes. This was March 2020, right when the world was shutting down for the pandemic. Most people were worried about getting sick. I was worried about making rent. Trucking doesn't stop for pandemics. Supplies still need moving. Remote communities still need food, medicine, equipment. So when the company offered triple rate for a run from Fairbanks to a research station on the North Slope, I took it. The catch was simple. I had to cross the Koyukuk River ice bridge at night. During the day, the sun, even the weak March sun, softens the ice too much. Too dangerous. But at night, when it's 40 below, the ice is like concrete. That's what they told me anyway. The load was light. Scientific equipment, mostly. Electronics that needed careful handling. The kind of cargo that doesn't weigh much but costs more than my truck if I break it. I left Fairbanks at 6 p.m. sharp. The sun had set an hour earlier. Full dark by the time I hit the highway. March in Alaska gives you maybe 8 hours of daylight if you're lucky. The rest is darkness and twilight and the kind of cold that makes your teeth ache. The route was straightforward. Dalton Highway North, about 200 miles. Then a turnoff onto a winter road that would take me the last 60 miles to the research station. The ice bridge was at mile 43 of the winter road. Unavoidable. The only way across the Koyukuk for 100 miles in either direction. The first 3 hours were normal. Empty highway, scattered snow, the occasional caribou wandering across the road. My headlights carved tunnels through the darkness. The radio played classic rock from a station in Fairbanks until it faded to static around mile 90. I switched to CB radio, got the usual chatter. Other drivers, weather reports, someone complaining about a stuck freight door. Familiar, comforting. At 9:47 p.m. I reached the turnoff to the winter road. There was a sign barely visible in the snow. Winter route, authorized vehicles only, ice bridge ahead. I radioed into dispatch. Standard procedure. Dispatch, this is Unit 58 turning onto winter route at 21:47 hours. Copy that, Unit 58. Weather looks good. Ice bridge should be solid. Radio check when you're across. Will do. 58 out. Simple. Routine? I'd done a dozen ice bridge crossings in my career. Different rivers, different states. You go slow, you stay calm, you don't think about the water underneath. Easy. The winter road was rougher than the main highway, narrower, just barely wide enough for my truck. On both sides, walls of plowed snow higher than my cab. Like driving through a tunnel made of ice. No other tire tracks. I was the first vehicle down this road in at least a day, maybe longer. Fresh snow covered everything, untouched except for the occasional fox print. At mile 15, I saw the first marker, a tall pole with a reflective orange flag indicating the edge of the road. These markers were spaced every 100 yards or so, guiding drivers through areas where the road wasn't clearly defined. By mile 20, the markers were coming faster. Every 50 yards now. The road was getting harder to see, even with the flags. At mile 30, I started seeing ice fog. Not unusual this far north when it gets really cold. Ice fog forms when the air is so frigid that moisture freezes instantly into tiny crystals, creating a mist that hangs in the air like smoke. It made visibility worse. My headlights reflected off the crystals, creating a wall of white light. I slowed to 20 miles per hour, then 15. The CB radio crackled. Unit 58, this is Unit 72, you copy? I grabbed the handset. Unit 72, this is 58, go ahead. You on the winter road? Affirmative, about mile 30. You behind me? Negative. I'm on the main highway heading south. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Ice bridge has been acting weird today. Weird how? Had 2 drivers cross it this morning. Both said the same thing. Bridge felt longer than usual, like it took them twice as long to cross. How long is it supposed to take? At normal speed, maybe 2 minutes. They said it took them 5-6 minutes. But their odometers showed the right distance, just felt longer. Felt longer, that's helpful. Hey, I'm just passing along what I heard. Could be nothing. Could be the cold messing with their heads. But watch yourself out there. Appreciated. 58 out. I hung up the handset. Felt longer. What did that even mean? I kept driving. The ice fog got thicker. At mile 35, I could barely see 20 feet ahead. The orange markers were the only way I knew I was still on the road. My GPS had stopped working around mile 20. Not unusual. These winter roads aren't always in the mapping databases. I was navigating by mile markers and the flags. At mile 40, the road started descending. Gentle slope, leading down toward the river valley. The ice bridge would be at the bottom. The temperature gauge on my dash read -42. Wind chill probably made it -60 or worse. Cold enough that if I broke down out here, I'd have maybe 30 minutes before the cab got too cold to survive in. Even with the engine running, even with the heater blasting. That's the thing about Alaska in winter. you're never more than a few minutes from dying. One wrong move, one mechanical failure, one moment of bad luck, and the cold takes you. At mile 42, I saw the warning sign. Ice bridge ahead, reduce speed, do not stop on bridge. I slowed to 10 miles per hour. The road leveled out. Through the ice fog, I could make out a change in the terrain. The walls of plowed snow ended. The road widened slightly. I was approaching the river. Then I saw it. The ice bridge. It wasn't a bridge in the conventional sense, no supports, no railings, no structure. Just a section of river that had frozen solid, thick enough to drive on. The road continued straight across it, marked by those same orange flags every 50 yards. The ice was white. Pure white. Snow-covered, but underneath I could see the ice itself, thick and solid. It looked safe, looked like concrete. But there was something about it that made my stomach tighten. Maybe it was the fog. The way it hung over the ice, thicker here than on the road behind me. Like the bridge was generating its own weather. Maybe it was the silence. The engine noise seemed muffled, distant. Even the wind had stopped. Complete stillness. Or maybe it was the way the orange flags on the bridge looked. They weren't snapping in the wind like the ones on the road. They were perfectly still, like the air itself had frozen. I stopped the truck before the bridge, put it in park, sat there looking at that expanse of white ice stretching ahead into the fog. I could see the first few markers. Beyond that, just white. The far side of the bridge was invisible, lost in the fog. How wide was the Koyukuk here? I tried to remember the map. Maybe 300 yards, quarter mile at most, 2 minutes at 10 miles per hour. That's all it would take. I picked up the CB handset. Dispatch, this is Unit 58, approaching ice bridge now. Conditions are foggy, visibility low, requesting confirmation on bridge status. Static, no response. I tried again. Dispatch, Unit 58, do you copy? More static. Then, faintly, a voice. Not dispatch. Different voice. Male, flat tone. Bridge is open. Proceed with caution. Do not stop. Who is this? Identify yourself. Static. I tried the company radio. Same result. Static and that faint voice speaking in fragments. Proceed. Do not stop. Keep moving. I switched off the radio, sat in silence. The bridge waited. I thought about turning around, telling dispatch the conditions were too dangerous, bringing the cargo back to Fairbanks, trying again tomorrow in daylight. But I needed this job, needed the triple rate, and the bridge looked solid. I'd crossed worse in Montana, in Wyoming. This was just ice fog making me paranoid. I put the truck in gear, released the brake, started forward onto the bridge. The moment my front tires touched the ice, I felt it, a change, subtle, like crossing a threshold from one room to another. The temperature gauge dropped, -42 to -48 in an instant. The engine note changed, deeper, slower, like it was working harder. And the sound, everything became muffled. My engine, my breathing, even my heartbeat. Like I'd put on headphones that canceled out the world. I kept going, 10 miles per hour, steady, eyes on the road, following the orange markers. The first marker passed on my left, 50 yards gone. The second marker, another 50 yards. I counted them, something to focus on, something to measure progress. Third marker, fourth, fifth. By the sixth marker, I should have been halfway across. 300 yards. 90 seconds at this speed. But the far side of the bridge was still invisible, still lost in fog. I checked my odometer. It showed I'd traveled 0.2 miles since entering the bridge. 2/10 of a mile, over 1,000 feet. But the bridge was only supposed to be 300 yards, 900 feet. I'd already gone further than the entire length of the bridge, and I couldn't see the other side yet. 7th marker, 8th, 9th. The fog was getting thicker. I could barely see the marker ahead before I passed the one behind. My headlights were useless. They just reflected off the fog, creating a wall of glare. I turned them off, drove by the marker lights alone. Orange reflectors in the white fog. 10th marker. Half a mile now, according to the odometer. Way past the bridge's length. But I was still on ice. I could feel it under the tires. Hear the slight crunch of snow on frozen river. 11th marker. My hands were shaking, not from cold, from something else. I reached for the CB radio, turned it back on. Do not stop. Keep moving. Do not stop. Where's the other side? I said aloud. Where's the goddamn other side? The voice on the radio didn't answer, just kept repeating the same fragment. Do not stop. Keep moving. Do not stop. 12th marker. I looked in my rearview mirror. The road behind me was gone. Just fog. White, featureless fog. I couldn't see where I'd entered the bridge, couldn't see land, couldn't see anything but the markers and the ice and the endless white. 13th marker. My breathing was getting faster. I forced myself to slow it down. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Stay calm. Panic kills faster than cold. The bridge had to end. Had to. Rivers weren't infinite. This was the Koyukuk, not the goddamn ocean. 14th marker. 3/4 of a mile. 1,300 feet. 4 times longer than the bridge was supposed to be, and still no sign of the other side. I stopped the truck. I know the sign said don't stop. I know every instinct said keep moving. But I had to stop, had to think. The moment I put it in park, I heard it. From underneath the ice, something moving, not water. Water doesn't move like that. Water flows, ripples, crashes. This was deliberate, patterned, like footsteps, like something walking under the ice. I looked down through my driver's side window, at the ice passing beneath the truck. It was clear here, not frosted. I could see through it. And underneath, maybe 6 feet down, I saw the water. It wasn't frozen, it was liquid, moving, flowing south to north, against the current. Rivers don't flow both directions, but I could see it. See the water moving north, when it should have been flowing south toward the ocean. And in that water, shapes, dark shapes, moving with the current, or against it. Hard to tell. They looked almost human, almost, but the proportions were wrong. The movements were wrong, like someone had described a person to an artist who'd never seen one, and the artist had done their best. One of the shapes stopped, directly under my truck. It looked up. I couldn't see its face. The ice distorted everything, but I could feel it looking. Feel its attention lock onto me. Then it moved, fast. Faster than anything should move in water, coming toward the surface. I put the truck in gear and floored it. The tires spun on the ice for a second, then caught. The truck lurched forward. In my mirror, I saw the ice crack. Just a little. A spiderweb of fractures spreading from where I'd been stopped. Something dark pressed against the underside of the ice, pushing, testing. The ice held. I kept driving, faster now. 15 miles per hour, 20, 15th marker, 16th, 17th. A mile now, almost 2,000 feet. 6 times longer than it should be. My fuel gauge was dropping. I'd burned through 1/8 of a tank just crossing this bridge. That wasn't possible. Not at these speeds. Not with this load. Unless time was working differently here. Unless I'd been driving longer than I thought. I checked my watch. 10:03 p.m. I'd entered the bridge at 9:58 p.m. 5 minutes. That matched. But it felt like longer. Felt like I'd been on this bridge for hours. 18th marker. The fog was changing. Not getting thinner, getting textured. I could see patterns in it now. Swirls. Faces. Almost faces. My mind was playing tricks. Had to be. Fog doesn't form patterns, doesn't create faces, but I could see them. Dozens of them, hundreds. Pressing close to my windows, looking in. 19th marker. The radio crackled. Different voice this time. Female, familiar. "Robert, can you hear me?" I grabbed the handset. "Who is this?" "It's me. It's Jennifer." Jennifer. My ex-wife. We divorced 3 years ago. She lived in Portland now, hadn't spoken in 18 months. "Jennifer, how are you on this frequency?" I'm not really here. Neither are you. Not anymore." "What are you talking about?" "You're still on the bridge, Robert. You never left. You've been driving in circles for 3 years. That's insane. I just got on the bridge 5 minutes ago." "That's what you think. That's what you'll always think. Every time you cross, it feels like the first time. Like it's only been 5 minutes, but it's been years, Robert. You've been here for years. You're not real. This is the cold, the fog, making me hear things. Maybe, or maybe, I'm the only real thing you've heard in a long time." The radio went dead. 20th marker. I looked at my hands on the wheel. They looked normal. No frostbite. No age. Same hands I'd had when I started this run. If I'd been here for years, wouldn't I look different? Wouldn't I be older? Unless time didn't age you here. Unless you were frozen. Preserved. Locked in the moment you entered the bridge. 21st marker. The shapes under the ice were multiplying. I could see them clearly now. Dozens of them. All swimming north. All keeping pace with my truck. All looking up. 22nd marker. My odometer read 1.5 miles since entering the bridge. The Koyukuk River at this point was 300 yards wide. I'd driven 5 times that distance and I was still on ice. 23rd marker. Then I saw it. Ahead in the fog, a darker shape, solid, land. The other side. Relief flooded through me so intensely I almost cried. I pressed the accelerator, 25 miles per hour. 30, the land got closer. I could make out details. The walls of plowed snow. The road continuing north. Solid ground. 50 yards. 25, 10. My front tires left the ice, hit packed snow. Solid, blessed ground. I'd made it. I stopped the truck, put it in park, sat there breathing. Hands shaking on the wheel. Behind me, the ice bridge stretched into the fog. I couldn't see the other side, couldn't see where I'd started, but I'd made it across. I grabbed the CB radio. "Dispatch, this is Unit 58. I'm across the bridge. Conditions were difficult, but I'm on solid ground now." Static, then, "Unit 58, please repeat. Did you say you're crossing the bridge?" "Negative. I said I've crossed it. I'm on the north side now." Long pause. "Unit 58, our GPS shows you're still approaching the bridge. You haven't reached it yet." I looked at my GPS screen. It was working again, showing my position on the bridge, right in the middle of the ice. "That's not right. I'm on the north side. I can see the road ahead." "Unit 58, are you experiencing equipment malfunction? Visual confirmation." I looked ahead. The road stretched north, clear as anything. I looked behind. The bridge disappeared into fog. I looked down at my odometer. It showed I'd traveled 1.7 miles since entering the bridge. I looked at the marker beside my truck. It was orange, reflective, same as all the others, but it had a number on it. I hadn't noticed before, but all the markers had numbers. This one said 24, 24. If the markers were every 50 yards, that meant I'd traveled 1,200 yards, almost 3/4 of a mile. But I'd crossed the bridge. I'd reached land. Hadn't I? I opened my door, put my foot down. Ice. Not ground, not packed snow. Ice. I was still on the bridge. The land I'd seen. The road continuing north. It was fog. Just fog forming shapes that looked like land. I pulled my foot back in, closed the door. Unit 58, please confirm your status. I'm still on the bridge. Copy that. Continue north. Do not stop. I thought I'd reached the other side, but it wasn't real. Visual distortions are common with ice fog. Trust your instruments. Keep moving. I put the truck in gear, started driving again. 25th marker. 26th, 27th. 2 miles now. 10 times longer than the bridge should be, and no end in sight. That was when I understood. I wasn't crossing the bridge, I was trapped on it, and I might never reach the other side. That was the end of part 1. The bridge had me, and every marker I passed, every yard I drove, just took me deeper into something that wasn't quite a bridge anymore, wasn't quite a river. It was something else, something that looked like a crossing but functioned like a cage, and I was locked inside. I drove for another hour, past 60 markers, 3,000 yards, almost 2 miles beyond the bridge's actual length. The odometer read 3.4 miles since entering the bridge. The fuel gauge was at half. I'd burned a quarter tank crossing what should have been a 300-yard span. The math didn't work. None of it worked. At marker 75, I saw the headlights. Behind me, in my rearview mirror, distant but unmistakable. Another vehicle. On the bridge. Relief surged through me. I wasn't alone. Someone else was here, someone who could confirm I wasn't losing my mind. I slowed down, let them catch up. The headlights got closer. I could make out the shape now. A truck. Similar model to mine, same company logo on the door. It pulled up beside me, running parallel. We were driving side by side on the bridge, even though the bridge was barely wide enough for 2 vehicles. I looked over at the other driver. It was me. Same face, same jacket, same expression of confused horror. The other me looked back. Our eyes met. Then the other truck veered left, merged into my lane, drove straight through my truck like it wasn't there. I felt nothing, no impact, no sound, just the sight of another vehicle passing through mine like we were both ghosts. It continued ahead, headlights disappearing into the fog, leaving me alone again. I stopped the truck, hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the wheel. That wasn't real, couldn't be real, but I'd seen it, clearly. Another version of me, driving another version of my truck, crossing the same bridge at the same time, or different time, or no time. Time didn't work here. I was starting to understand that. The radio crackled, my voice, speaking to myself. Don't stop, keep moving, don't stop. Who are you? I asked the radio. I'm you, from marker 147, still driving, still looking for the end. Marker 147? That's over 7 miles. Yes. How long have you been on the bridge? 3 hours, 3 days, 3 years. Time doesn't mean anything here, just keep driving, that's all you can do. There has to be an end. Does there? I've passed you 6 times. Different versions, different moments. You're all asking the same questions. You'll all get the same answers. And you'll all keep driving. I'm not you, I just got on the bridge an hour ago. That's what I said. That's what all of us say, but look at your fuel gauge. I looked, half full. Wait, hadn't it been half full 10 minutes ago? I checked the trip odometer. 3.4 miles, same as before. Same as 10 minutes ago. I'd been driving, but the odometer hadn't moved. See? My voice on the radio said. You're not moving forward. You're moving in place. The bridge keeps you driving, keeps you thinking you're making progress, but you're just here, always here. There has to be a way off. If you find it, let me know. I'll be at marker 147, or marker 23, or marker 891. Depends on when you catch me. The radio went silent. I sat there trying to process, trying to think. If I wasn't moving forward, then the markers were meaningless. They were just decorations, waypoints in an infinite loop. But I'd seen them pass, counted them. 75 so far, unless I'd been seeing the same markers repeatedly. Unless the bridge was recycling them, showing me marker 25, then making me forget, then showing it to me again as marker 26. How would I know the difference? I looked at the marker beside me. Number 75. I took out my phone, took a picture of it. Then I drove forward, slowly, watching for the next marker. Marker 76 appeared. I took a picture. Marker 77 picture. Marker 78 picture. I looked at the photos, compared them. They were identical, same marker, same number, just different numbers painted on it. No, wait, the paint was the same. The wear patterns were the same. These weren't different markers. It was the same marker, repeated. The number was changing, but everything else was identical. I was seeing the same marker over and over. The bridge was just changing the number to make me think I was moving. I stopped the truck, looked at marker 78, grabbed a wrench from my toolbox, got out. The cold hit me like a wall. 40 below, maybe colder. My breath crystallized instantly. I walked to the marker, swung the wrench at it. The wrench passed through the marker like it wasn't there. I tried again. Same result. The marker was intangible, incorporeal. It looked solid, but it had no substance. None of this was real. I got back in the truck, slammed the door, sat there trying not to scream. The bridge wasn't just long. It wasn't just repeating. It was fake. A projection, a simulation. I wasn't crossing a river. I was driving through an illusion. But the ice under me felt real. The cold was real. The truck was real. So what was happening? The radio crackled. Different voice this time. Old man, gravelly. You're starting to figure it out, son. Who is this? Name's Harrison. Been on this bridge since 1987. That's 33 years, give or take. Hard to keep track. But yeah, long time. How are you still alive? Am I? Not sure. Don't feel dead, but don't feel alive either. Just here, always here. Driving this bridge, waiting for it to end. It doesn't end, does it? Well, that depends on what you mean by end. The bridge ends. I've reached the other side, many times. Then why are you still here? Because when you reach the end, you just start over. Like resetting a tape. You drive off the bridge onto solid ground, think you made it. Then you blink, and you're back at the beginning. Entering the bridge again. First time. Fresh start. That's impossible. So's a bridge that never ends. So's seeing yourself drive past yourself. So's a lot of things you're experiencing. Impossible don't mean much out here. There has to be a way to break the loop. Maybe. Haven't found it. But I got a theory. Tell me. The bridge don't want you to cross. It wants you to stay forever. Driving in circles, feeding it somehow. Your attention, your fear, your confusion. Something about that sustains it, so it keeps you trapped. Keeps you moving, but going nowhere. How do I escape? That's the million-dollar question. My theory, you gotta do something unexpected. Something the bridge ain't prepared for. All the drivers who get trapped, they follow the rules. Stay on the road, follow the markers, keep driving. That's what the bridge expects so it can control you. So I need to... What, go off-road? Maybe, or stop completely. Or reverse, or something, I don't know. I've tried a lot of things. Nothing's worked. But maybe you'll have better luck. What happens if I go off the road, into the river? Don't know. Never been brave enough to try. Or stupid enough, depending on your perspective. The radio went silent. I looked out at the ice on both sides of the road. It stretched into the fog. Flat, featureless. Under the ice, I could see the shapes moving. More of them now. Hundreds. All swimming in formation, all watching. If I drove off the road, onto the unmarked ice, would I break through? Would I sink into that impossible water with those impossible things? Or would I find something else? Some way out the bridge hadn't anticipated. I was about to make a decision when I heard it. From ahead. From the fog, a sound, mechanical, rhythmic, thump, 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 getting louder, getting closer. I squinted through the fog, tried to see what was making that sound. Then I saw it, a figure, walking toward me, down the center of the bridge, human-shaped, but wrong. The proportions were off, the gait was strange, like something pretending to walk, mimicking human movement without understanding it. Thump, 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 thump. Its feet hitting the ice, heavy, deliberate. I put the truck in reverse, started backing up. The figure kept coming. Faster now. I reversed faster, 20 miles per hour. 30. The markers were passing backward. 78. Evan. 76. The figure was running now. Not human running. Something else. Loping. Like a wolf wearing human skin. Thump, 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 thump. It was gaining. I looked in my side mirror. Behind me was just fog. I had no idea what I was backing into. Could be the edge of the bridge. Could be another vehicle. Could be nothing. The figure was 50 yards ahead. 40, 30. I could see details now. It was wearing clothes. Trucker's jacket. Same company as mine. On the jacket, a name tag. I couldn't read it yet. Too far. 20 yards. 10. The name tag, Harrison. The figure that had been the old man on the radio. The driver from 1987. Or what was left of him. His face was wrong. Stretched. Like someone had pulled the skin tight over a skull that wasn't quite human anymore. His eyes were too wide. His mouth was frozen in a smile that showed too many teeth. He reached my truck, slammed his hands on the hood. I felt the impact, felt the truck shake. He wasn't intangible like the markers. He was solid, real. He pressed his face against my windshield. That terrible smile widening. "Join us," he said. His voice came through the glass clearly. Too clearly. Like he was inside the cab with me. "Join us on the bridge. Stay forever. Drive forever. It's easier than fighting, easier than trying to escape." I floored it in reverse. The truck lurched backward. Harrison tumbled off the hood. Hit the ice, rolled. I kept reversing, 50 miles per hour now. Dangerous speed. But I didn't care. In my mirror, I saw Harrison get up, start running after me again. Thump, 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 thump. But he was falling behind. I was faster in reverse than he was on foot. After a minute, he stopped, stood there in the middle of the bridge, watching me go. Then he waved. Friendly wave, like saying goodbye to an old friend. And he smiled that terrible smile, I faced forward, kept reversing. The markers were going backward. 75. 74, 73. I was heading back to the start, back to where I'd entered. Maybe if I could get back to the beginning, I could drive off the bridge. Back onto the winter road. Escape this nightmare. Marker 50, 49, 48. My fuel gauge was dropping faster. A quarter tank left. I'd burned through most of my fuel just driving in circles on this bridge. When I ran out, I'd be stranded, on the ice, in the cold, with Harrison and whatever else was out here. Marker 25. 23. Almost there. Almost back to the beginning. Marker 10. 9. 8. I could see something ahead in the fog, the edge of the bridge, the winter road. Marker 5. 4. 3. Freedom. So close. Marker 2. 1. My rear tires left the ice. Hit packed snow. Solid ground. I'd done it. I'd reversed off the bridge. I slammed on the brakes, put the truck in park. Sat there, gasping. I was off the bridge. On the winter road. Solid ground beneath me. I looked ahead. The bridge waited. Fog and ice and orange markers stretching into the distance. I looked behind. The winter road leading back to the main highway. Back to civilization. I could turn around, drive back to Fairbanks, forget this whole thing. But I couldn't. The research station still needed its cargo. I still needed the triple rate, and some part of me, some stupid, stubborn part, needed to know if I could beat this, if I could cross this bridge. I sat there for 10 minutes, debating. Then I made my decision. I turned the truck around, faced the bridge again. This time, I was going to try something different. I was going to drive across without looking at the markers, without checking my odometer, without measuring progress. I was just going to drive, straight ahead, ignoring everything, until I reached the other side. Maybe that was the trick. Maybe the bridge fed on attention, on observation, on drivers noticing the impossible things and getting trapped by them. So I wasn't going to notice. I was going to drive blind. I put my hands on the wheel, took a deep breath, and drove onto the bridge again. This time, I didn't look at anything. Not the markers, not the fog, not the ice below. I just watched the center line of the road, kept my truck straight, maintained steady speed, 10 miles per hour. No faster, no slower. And I drove. I don't know how long I drove, seconds, minutes, hours. I wasn't counting, I wasn't thinking, wasn't analyzing, wasn't questioning, just driving. The world outside my windshield became white noise, meaningless, irrelevant. All that mattered was the road directly in front of my truck. The next 10 feet, the next 5 feet, drive, just drive. At some point I noticed the fog was thinning, but I didn't focus on it. Didn't let it mean anything, just drove. At some point I noticed shapes under the ice. Moving, watching, didn't matter, kept driving. At some point I heard voices on the radio, my voice, Harrison's voice, Jennifer's voice, all talking at once, overlapping, screaming. Turned off the radio, kept driving. At some point I saw Harrison in my peripheral vision, running alongside my truck, keeping pace, smiling, didn't look at him, kept driving. At some point the aurora appeared overhead, green and red and purple, swirling in patterns that almost looked like faces, like hands reaching down, eyes on the road, kept driving. At some point my fuel gauge hit empty. The low fuel warning light came on. Didn't matter, kept driving. The engine should have stopped, should have died, but it kept running. Fed by something other than diesel now. fed by will, by stubbornness, by refusal to quit, kept driving. At some point, I don't know when, the ice changed. The texture under my tires felt different, less smooth, more granular, not ice anymore, gravel. I'd reached the other side. I let myself look up, let myself see. I was off the bridge, on the winter road, walls of plowed snow on both sides, solid ground. I'd made it. I stopped the truck, put it in park, sat there shaking, crying, laughing, all at once. I'd beaten it. I'd crossed the bridge. I grabbed the CB radio. "Dispatch Unit 58, I'm across, I made it." Static. Then, "Unit 58, good to hear from you. We were getting worried. You went silent for 6 minutes. How are conditions?" 6 minutes? It felt like hours. That's the ice fog. Plays tricks on your perception, but you're through the worst of it. Smooth sailing from here, station is about 15 miles ahead. Copy that, 58 out. I hung up the handset, looked at my watch. 10:09 p.m. I'd entered the bridge at 9:58. 11 minutes. Just 11 minutes. Not hours. Not days. 11 minutes. But it had felt like forever. I looked in my rearview mirror. The bridge was there, visible now. Fog was clearing. I could see from one side to the other. 300 yards. Just like it was supposed to be. Normal. Real. Just a frozen river with a road across it. Nothing impossible. Nothing wrong. I'd imagined everything. The endless markers, the repeating loops, Harrison, the shapes in the water. All just ice fog and exhaustion in my mind playing tricks. That's what I told myself. That's what I wanted to believe. But when I looked at my fuel gauge, it read empty. I'd started with a full tank. I should have had 3/4 left, but it was empty. And on my passenger seat there was something that hadn't been there before. A jacket, trucker's jacket, same company as mine, with a name tag, Harrison. That was the end of part 2. I'd crossed the bridge, but something had followed me across, something that shouldn't exist. And as I drove toward the research station, I could feel it in the cab with me, watching, waiting, smiling that terrible smile. I threw the jacket out the window, didn't even stop the truck, just grabbed it and hurled it out into the snow, watched in my mirror as it hit the ground, lay there in a crumpled heap. Then it moved, stood up, smoothed itself out, and waved at me as I drove away. I floored it. The engine coughed, running on fumes now, literally empty, but kept going. Something other than fuel was powering this truck. The research station was supposed to be 15 miles ahead. At 60 miles per hour, I'd be there in 15 minutes. I drove for 30 minutes. The odometer showed I'd traveled 5 miles. The math didn't work. Again, the bridge was behind me. I'd crossed it, but its rules had followed me. Distance and time were still broken. At mile 5, or mile 30, or mile anything, I saw the lights, buildings, the research station. Finally, I pulled into the compound. 3 prefab structures, same as most remote stations. Generator building, sleeping quarters, lab and operations center. Lights on in all 3, vehicles parked outside. Snowmobiles, a couple other trucks, a tracked vehicle. People. Civilization. Safety. I parked next to the main building, killed the engine. Sat there for a moment, hands still gripping the wheel. I'd made it. I'd actually made it. I got out. The cold hit me, but it felt normal. Honest. No weird temperature shifts, no impossible depths of cold. Just Alaska winter. Brutal, but comprehensible. The door to the main building opened. A woman stepped out. 50s, gray hair, wearing a parka with the research station logo. You must be the delivery driver. We were expecting you an hour ago." "I got delayed at the bridge," she nodded. "Ice fog? Yeah, something like that." "Well, you're here now. Let's get that cargo unloaded. I'm Dr. Sarah Vickers, station director." I helped her unload. The cargo was intact. None the worse for the trip, despite everything. As we carried the last box inside, she asked, "How was the crossing? Bridge gave you any trouble?" It was longer than I expected. Felt that way, didn't it? Something about the fog and the darkness makes everything feel stretched out. I've crossed that bridge 50 times and it always feels like it takes forever. "How long does it actually take?" 2-3 minutes at normal speed." "Why?" I didn't answer. Couldn't tell her it had felt like hours. That I'd driven miles and miles on a bridge that was only 300 yards. That I'd seen myself. That I'd met a man who'd been driving since 1987. She'd think I was crazy. Maybe I was. "Come inside," she said. "Warm up. Have some coffee before you head back." I followed her into the operations center. Warm air washed over me. Blessed normal heat from a normal furnace burning normal fuel. Inside, 3 other people were working. 2 men, 1 woman. Scientists from the looks of their equipment. Computers, instruments, specimen containers. One of the men looked up as I entered, did a double take. "Hey, didn't you just leave?" I blinked. "What?" 10 minutes ago. You dropped off cargo, had some coffee, then left. Said you were heading back to Fairbanks. "I just got here. I haven't been here before." He looked at Dr. Vickers. "Am I going crazy?" That was him, right? Same truck, same company logo, same face. Dr. Vickers frowned. "James, this is the first delivery we've received today. But," he pointed at me. "I talked to him. We discussed the bridge. He said it felt endless. Said he saw weird things on the ice." My blood went cold. "What did he see?" "Shapes, under the water, and a man. A driver named Harrison, who'd been trapped there for decades." I felt the room spinning. That's what I experienced." "Right. Which is why I'm saying you were already here." Dr. Vickers put a hand on James's shoulder. "You've been up for 36 hours straight. You're exhausted. Maybe you dozed off, had a dream." "I didn't dream this." He pulled out his phone. "Look, I took a picture with him, right here." He showed us the phone. There was a photo, taken in this room. Dr. Vickers on the left, James on the right, and in the middle, me. Same jacket, same face, same tired expression. But I'd never been here before. That photo shouldn't exist. "When did you take this?" I asked. "Like I said, 10 minutes ago." He checked the timestamp. 10:17 p.m. I looked at my watch. 10:27 by. If that photo was taken at 10:17 and I just arrived at 10:27, then there's another me, I said quietly. Another version. He got here before I did. "That's not possible," Dr. Vickers said. "None of this is possible, but it's happening." James looked out the window. "If he left 10 minutes ago and you just arrived, then where is he? Where's his truck?" We all looked outside. The compound was small. We could see the whole thing from here. There were 2 trucks parked outside. Mine, which I'd just arrived in, and another identical. Same model, same company, same unit number. Both Unit 58. "Jesus Christ," James whispered. I walked to the window, looked at the other truck. It was me. Definitely my truck. Same small dent in the front bumper. Same cracked headlight. Same mud splatter pattern. But it couldn't be. My truck was behind me. I'd just parked it. Which one's real? Dr. Vickers asked. Both, I said. Or neither. The bridge, it doesn't just trap you in space, it traps you in time. Creates loops, copies. I think when I crossed the bridge, I created multiple versions of myself, all taking slightly different paths, all arriving at different times. That's insane. Yeah, it is. I walked outside, approached the other truck, looked in the window. Empty. No driver. I tried the door, unlocked, I opened it. On the seat, a thermos. I picked it up, unscrewed the cap, smelled it. Coffee. Still warm, my coffee. The thermos I'd filled in Fairbanks before starting this run. But my thermos was in my truck, wasn't it? I looked back at my truck, saw the thermos on my dashboard. 2 thermoses, both mine, both real. Okay, Dr. Vickers said. I don't know what's happening, but I think we need to call someone. Get you checked out. Get this documented. Who are you going to call? Who's going to believe this? I have a colleague at University of Alaska, studies temporal anomalies. This is exactly the kind of thing a sound cut her off. From the distance, from the south, an engine approaching fast. We all looked toward the winter road. Headlights were coming. A truck, it pulled into the compound. Same model as mine, same company logo, same unit number, a third unit 58. The driver got out, looked at us, looked at the other 2 trucks. It was me, again. But this version looked worse. Haggard, exhausted, hair grayer, face older. How many times? He asked. His voice was rough, tired. How many times what? I asked. How many times have you crossed the bridge? Once, tonight. Just now. He laughed, bitter sound. That's what I said the first time, but it's never just once. You'll cross it again and again. Each time you'll arrive here. Each time you'll see more versions of yourself. More trucks. More deliveries. I'm not crossing that bridge again. I'm going back to Fairbanks, taking the main highway, avoiding this whole area. That's what I said too. But you will. The company will call, offer triple rate, quadruple, whatever it takes. And you'll need the money. You always need the money. So you'll take the job, you'll drive north, you'll cross the bridge, and you'll end up here, meeting yourself, over and over. How many times have you crossed? He thought about it. 17, no, 18. I lose count. 18 times. How is that possible? The bridge loops time. Every crossing creates a new instance, a new version. They all exist simultaneously, all arriving at different moments, all thinking they're the original. Dr. Vickers stepped forward. How do we stop this? The older me looked at her. You can't. Once you cross the bridge once, you're caught. The loop continues forever. Right now, there are probably hundreds of versions of me, all crossing at different times, all arriving at different moments. We're all real, we're all the original, we're all trapped. There has to be a way to break the loop, I said. If there is, I haven't found it. And I've tried everything. Driving different speeds, taking different routes, refusing to deliver the cargo. Nothing works. The bridge won't let go. A 4th set of headlights appeared. Another truck approaching. Here comes another, the older me said. It never stops. We keep multiplying, keep arriving. Eventually, there'll be so many of us that there won't be room. The compound will be overflowing with Unit 58s, all trying to deliver the same cargo, all trying to understand what happened. What happens then? I don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet. The 4th truck arrived. The driver got out. Younger than me, I recognized him. It was me from 5 years ago. Before the divorce, before Alaska. He looked around at all of us, at all the trucks. "What the hell is this?" "Welcome to the loop," the older me said. By midnight, there were 7 trucks, 7 versions of me, all from different times, all having crossed the bridge at different moments. We stood in a circle in the compound looking at each other. Some were older, some younger. Some looked beaten down by the experience. Some still had fight in them. Dr. Vickers and her team had retreated inside. They were on the phone with someone, trying to get help, trying to understand. "So what do we do?" one of me asked. The youngest version, the one from 5 years ago. "We wait," the oldest said. He looked 70, maybe older. "Wait for more of us to arrive. Wait for someone to figure out how to stop this. Wait for the end." "What end?" "I don't know. But there has to be an end. Everything ends eventually." "Not the bridge," I said. "The bridge is infinite, Harrison told me. He's been there since 1987, still driving, still trapped." "Harrison?" The oldest me looked up. "I met him too, at marker 147. He was wearing a trucker's jacket, had that smile." "I saw him at marker 75, another me said. "I saw him at marker 250, a third said. We all started comparing. All of us had seen Harrison, but at different markers, different times, different versions of him, or maybe the same Harrison existing at multiple points simultaneously just like us. "The bridge is learning," the oldest me said. "Every time we cross, it understands us better, knows how to trap us more efficiently. The first crossing is confusing but escapable. By the 18th crossing, it's got you completely, knows every trick you'll try, counters them before you even think of them. So we're doomed. Maybe. Or maybe we can use that against it. If the bridge is learning from us, then we're teaching it. Every crossing, every attempt to escape, we're showing it our patterns. But we're also learning its patterns. To what end? To beat it, collectively. We can't do it individually, the bridge is too strong. But all of us together, all the versions, maybe we have a chance. A chance to do what?" He smiled, grim smile. "To close the bridge, permanently, so no one else gets trapped." "How?" "I have an idea, but it requires all of us, every version, working in perfect synchronization." An 8th truck arrived, then a 9th. By 2:00 a.m., there were 15 trucks, 15 versions of me. We gathered around the oldest. He explained his plan. "The bridge exists across time. That's how it traps people. It creates temporal loops, folding time back on itself. Every crossing reinforces the loop, makes it stronger. So how do we break it? We do the opposite. Instead of crossing at different times, we cross at the same time, all of us, simultaneously. We force the bridge to handle 15 instances at once. Overload it, break the loop." "That's insane. You have a better idea?" Nobody did. "There's a problem," I said. "Some of us are already here, already crossed. We can't go back and cross again." "Yes, we can. The bridge loops time, remember? If we drive back to it, we'll find ourselves entering it for the first time. We'll be at the beginning again. All of us. And if we all cross simultaneously, then either the bridge breaks, or we all get trapped together. Forever. In the same moment." Silence we all considered. "I'm in," the youngest me said. "I've got nothing to lose." "I'm in," said another. One by one, we all agreed. 15 versions, one plan. We got in our trucks, all identical, all Unit 58. And we drove south, back toward the bridge. Dr. Vickers came out as we were leaving. "What are you doing?" "Ending this," I called back. "One way or another." "Wait," We got through to our colleague. He says there's another way, says if you can... I didn't hear the rest. We were already moving. 15 trucks in convoy, all heading to the same destination. The ice bridge waited. As we approached, we spread out, formed a line. All 15 trucks side by side. We'd have to squeeze. The bridge wasn't wide enough for 15 vehicles, but we'd make it work. We reached the entrance to the bridge, stopped, all in a row. The oldest of me was in the center. He radioed to all of us. On my mark. We cross together. No matter what happens, no stopping, no turning back. Agreed? Agreed, we all said. 3, 2, 1 mark. We drove onto the bridge, all 15 trucks, all at once. The moment we touched the ice, everything changed. The fog exploded outward. The aurora flared overhead. The ice cracked in 1,000 places, and the bridge screamed. Not a sound, a feeling, pure rage, pure anguish. The bridge was alive, and we were hurting it. We kept driving, side by side, wheels barely inches apart. The shapes under the ice swarmed, hundreds of them, thousands, all pressing against the underside. The ice bowed under their weight. We kept driving. Harrison appeared, 15 copies of him, one in front of each truck, all running, all smiling. Join us, stay, forever. We drove through them. Their bodies exploded into fog and reformed behind us. We kept driving. The markers were going haywire, flashing different numbers. 1, 287, 54, 892, 0, 1, 287. We kept driving. My fuel gauge was at empty. All our gauges were empty. But the trucks kept running. Powered by will, by determination, by 15 versions of the same stubbornness. The far side of the bridge appeared. All 15 of us saw it. Real land, real ground, 50 yards, 25, 10. The ice cracked, completely. A fissure ran straight across the bridge. All 15 trucks hit it simultaneously. We should have fallen through, should have plunged into that impossible water. But we didn't. We drove across the crack, over it. The trucks didn't fall, and we reached the other side. All 15 of us, all at once. We pulled off the bridge, onto solid ground, stopped, got out of our trucks, looked at each other, then looked back. The bridge was gone, not collapsed, not destroyed, just gone. Where the ice bridge had been, there was now just river, open water, flowing normally, south to north like it should. No ice, no fog, no markers, no bridge. We'd done it. We'd broken the loop. The oldest me walked to the edge of the water, looked down at it. It's over. Are you sure? I asked. Yes. The bridge existed across time. When we crossed simultaneously, all instances at once, we collapsed the temporal loop, forced it to resolve. It couldn't maintain itself anymore. So, we're free? We're free. We stood there for a moment. 15 versions of the same person, all from different times, all having experienced the same nightmare. Then the oldest spoke again. We can't all exist. You understand that, right? The loop is broken, but we're anomalies. Copies that shouldn't be here. Time will correct itself. What does that mean? It means most of us will fade. Only one version gets to stay, the prime version, the original. How do we know which one? We don't. But it'll happen naturally. Over the next few hours, most of us will just cease, blink out, like we never existed. That's not fair. None of this has been fair. We stood there in the pre-dawn light, waiting to see who would survive. One by one, the other versions started to fade. Literally. They became transparent. then translucent, then gone. The youngest went first, then the middle-aged versions, then the older ones, until only two remained, me and the oldest. "Looks like it's between us," he said. "How do we know which one is real? Does it matter? We're the same person, same memories, same experiences. Whoever stays, he'll carry all of it." He started to fade. "Wait," I said. "Before you go, tell me, does it get better? After all this?" He smiled. "Yes, it does. You'll never forget the bridge, but you'll survive it. You'll move on, you'll even drive again." "I don't know if I can." "You will, because you're stubborn. And that stubbornness just saved everyone who'll ever drive this route. They'll never know what you did, never know you broke an infinite loop, but you'll know." He was almost completely transparent now. "One last thing," he said. "When you get home, call Jennifer, apologize. You'll understand why." Then, he was gone. I stood alone on the bank of the Koyukuk River. The sun was starting to rise, morning twilight turning the sky purple and pink. My truck was behind me. Just one truck now. The others had faded with their drivers. I got in, started the engine. It ran smoothly. Fuel gauge read 3/4 full. Everything was normal. I looked at where the bridge had been, just water. Normal river. I picked up the CB radio. "Dispatch, this is Unit 58. Cargo delivered. Heading back to Fairbanks." "Copy that, Unit 58. How are conditions?" "Fine, no issues." "Good to hear. Safe travels." I hung up the handset, started driving south. Behind me, the Koyukuk River flowed. North to south. The way it should. The way it always had. The way it always would. That was the end of Part 3. I'd beaten the bridge, collapsed the loop, saved everyone who'd come after. But I'd lost something too. 15 versions of myself. 15 lives that might have been, all sacrificed to close one impossible road. I drove toward Fairbanks, toward home, toward whatever came next, and I tried not to think about the oldest me, about what he'd said, about calling Jennifer. But I knew I would, because he was me and I was him, and we both knew what was coming. I got back to Fairbanks 36 hours later. Should have taken 8, but I stopped a lot, every rest area, every pull-off, every place where I could sit and try to process what had happened. Nobody believed me. Of course they didn't. The research station confirmed I'd delivered the cargo, but they had no record of multiple deliveries, no photos of 15 trucks. Dr. Vickers didn't remember our conversation about temporal loops. The bridge? It had never existed. I checked maps, records, satellite images. The winter road was there, but there was no ice bridge. There was a regular bridge, steel and concrete, built in 2005. Normal bridge, normal crossing. The ice bridge had been erased. Not just destroyed, erased from ever having existed. Time had corrected itself, smoothed over the anomaly. Nobody remembered Harrison. The missing person reports I'd found before were gone. No trucker named Harrison had ever disappeared in 1987. I had no proof, no evidence. Nothing but my memories and a thermos of cold coffee that shouldn't exist. I went home, slept for 14 hours, woke up feeling like I'd aged a decade. And I thought about what the oldest me had said. Call Jennifer. Apologize. I didn't know why. We'd divorced cleanly. No major fight. Just drifted apart. Different lives, different goals. But he'd said to call her, and he was me from the future. He knew something I didn't. So I called. She picked up on the third ring. "Robert, is that you?" "Yeah. Hi, Jennifer. I know we haven't talked in a while. Are you okay? You sound different." "I'm fine. I wanted to apologize." "For what?" "For everything. For the divorce. For not fighting harder. For letting you go." Silence on the line. Then, "Robert, what's going on? You never talk like this." "I had a weird trip. Made me think about things. About what matters, and I realized I've been an idiot. I let the best thing in my life walk away because I was too stubborn to change." "Robert, I know it's too late. I know you've moved on. But I needed to tell you. Needed you to know that I'm sorry. That I understand now." More silence. Then quietly, "I haven't moved on." "What?" "I mean, I tried, dated a few people. But it never felt right because they weren't you." My heart was pounding. "Jennifer, I don't understand. Why didn't I call you?" "Because you made it clear you were done. You wanted Alaska. You wanted the open road. You didn't want to be tied down. I was wrong about all of it." "So what are you saying?" I'm saying I want to try again. If you'll have me. I'm saying I'll quit trucking. I'll move back to Seattle. I'll do whatever it takes." Long pause. I could hear her breathing. "Don't quit trucking," she said finally. "You love it. It's part of who you are. But maybe you could do local runs, Seattle area, come home every night." "I could do that. And maybe I could come up to Alaska sometimes, see what you love about it. I'd like that." We talked for 2 hours, made plans, slow plans, careful plans. We'd both been burned once. We weren't rushing anything, but we were trying. And that was more than I'd had in 3 years. When I hung up, I felt lighter, like I'd been carrying something heavy and finally put it down. The oldest me had known, had remembered this call, had lived through it and wanted to make sure I didn't screw it up. Thank you, I thought. Wherever you are, whatever you've become. Thank you. I went back to work the next week. Local runs only. Fairbanks to Anchorage. Fairbanks to Juneau. Nothing that required crossing rivers, nothing on winter roads. My dispatcher noticed. "You've been turning down the long hauls, the good money. You okay?" "Yeah, just want to be closer to home." "Suit yourself, but there's a run coming up, triple rate, research station on the North Slope. Same route you did 3 weeks ago. You interested?" "No." "You sure? Same station. They requested you specifically, said you did great work last time." "I'm sure." He shrugged. "Your call. I'll assign it to someone else." "Wait, who requested me?" "Dr. Vickers." He checked his computer. Doesn't say. Just says driver request. But yeah, same station." "Tell them I'm not available." "Will do." I left his office. Tried not to think about it. But I couldn't help wondering who had requested me and why. That night, I got a phone call. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. "Hello?" Static. Then a voice. Male. Flat. "You closed the bridge." My blood went cold. "Who is this?" "You know who this is?" "Harrison." "Yes." "That's impossible. The bridge is gone. You never existed." "The bridge is gone from your timeline. But time isn't linear, isn't singular. There are other timelines, other versions. And in those, the bridge still exists. I still exist." "What do you want?" "To thank you. You freed 17 versions of yourself, collapsed one loop. But there are others, hundreds of others, thousands. And you showed us how to beat them." "Us? all the drivers, all the trapped souls. We're using your method, crossing simultaneously, collapsing loops, freeing ourselves, timeline by timeline. That's good, right? It is. But there's a problem. What problem? Every loop we collapse creates a ripple, a change, small at first, but they add up. And eventually, those changes will reach you, will affect your timeline. How? We don't know. But you should be prepared. What you did, closing that bridge, it didn't just affect you. It affected all of us, all of reality. The consequences are still playing out. Are you saying I made a mistake? No. You did the right thing. But the right thing isn't always the safe thing. The line went dead. I stood there holding the phone, trying to process. Over the next few weeks, I noticed things, small things. Roads I'd driven 100 times felt different. Longer, or shorter, I couldn't tell. Mile markers didn't always match my odometer. The sun set at different times, minutes off, sometimes hours. Nobody else noticed. When I mentioned it, people looked at me like I was crazy. Maybe I was. Or maybe reality was shifting, adjusting to accommodate all those collapsed loops, all those freed drivers. I started keeping a journal, documenting the changes, trying to find patterns. On May 15th, I wrote, "Drove from Fairbanks to Anchorage. Should take 6 hours. Took 4. Arrived at destination before I left. GPS showed negative travel time." On June 3rd, the bridge is back, not the ice bridge, a different bridge, different river, but it felt the same, that wrongness. I turned around, didn't cross. On July 22nd, saw Harrison at a rest stop near Denali. He was eating lunch, looked younger, more human. He waved at me. I drove away. On August 10th, Jennifer visited, stayed a week. I told her everything. Showed her the journal. She believes me, I think. Or she's humoring me. Either way, I'm grateful. On September 5th, got a call from the research station. Dr. Vickers. She remembers the 15 trucks, the multiple versions. She said it came back to her in a dream. She's been investigating, found others who remember. We're not crazy. Something really happened. On October 30th, the bridges are multiplying, not just in Alaska. Reports from Canada, Russia, anywhere cold enough for ice roads, drivers going missing, or arriving multiple times or never arriving at all. The loops are spreading. What did we do? On December 8th, Harrison called again. Said the collapses are creating new anomalies, worse than the original bridges. Feedback loops, temporal recursion. Reality is breaking down in places, and it's spreading. He said there's only one way to stop it. Someone has to go back to the original bridge, the first one, the one that started all of this. And they have to stay there, permanently. Become an anchor point, hold the timelines together. He asked if I'd do it. I said I'd think about it. That was yesterday. Today I'm driving north, back to the Koyukuk River, back to where the ice bridge used to be. Jennifer knows. I told her. She cried, asked me not to go. But we both knew I had to. I caused this, me and my 15 versions. We broke the bridge, but we didn't understand what we were breaking. Didn't understand that some cages exist for a reason, to contain things, to keep worse things from getting out. The bridge wasn't just trapping drivers, it was holding something back, keeping timelines separate, maintaining order, and we destroyed it. Now I have to fix it. I'm at mile 40 of the winter road now, almost to where the bridge was, where it will be, where it always has been. In the distance I can see it. Not ice anymore. Something else. Harder to describe, like looking at something that exists in multiple states simultaneously. Solid and liquid, frozen and flowing, present and absent, the bridge between bridges, the bridge, the first anomaly. Harrison is waiting there, standing at the entrance. He looks different, more real, more human. "You came," he says. "I came. You understand what this means? I'll be trapped, like you were, forever driving this bridge, holding it stable. Yes. Will it work? It should. One consciousness, one driver, permanently anchored. It'll stop the ripples, stabilize the timelines. Will I be alone?" He smiles. "No, I'll be here too. I've been here all along. This is where I belong, where I've always belonged. I'm the anchor for one timeline. You'll be the anchor for another. Together, we'll hold it all together. And if we fail, then reality collapses completely. All timelines merge. Everything becomes everything. And nothing makes sense anymore. No pressure. No pressure." I look back down the road, toward Fairbanks, toward Jennifer, toward the life I could have had. Then I look at the bridge, at the impossible structure that shouldn't exist but does, that must exist, for everything else to make sense. I take a deep breath, and I drive onto the bridge. The moment my tires touch it, I feel the change, the settling, like pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. The wrongness fades. The bridge stabilizes, becomes solid, real. Behind me, the road disappears. Ahead, the road stretches infinite. I'm here now, forever here. I pick up the CB radio, one last transmission. "Jennifer, if you can hear this, I'm sorry, I love you. I'll always love you." Static, then her voice, faint but clear. "I hear you, Robert. I love you too. Tell my story. Tell people what happened, so they understand. I will. And Jennifer, don't cross any bridges. Not ice bridges, not any bridges. Just stay on solid ground, promise me." I promise. The radio goes silent. I hang up the handset, look ahead at the endless bridge. Harrison pulls up beside me in his truck, gives me a thumbs up. We start driving, side by side, holding the bridge stable, keeping the timelines separate. How long will we drive? Forever, probably. Or until someone finds another way. Until reality heals itself. Until the bridges aren't needed anymore. Could be days. Could be centuries. Time doesn't work right here. Might be both. But I'm not alone. Harrison is here. And sometimes, late at night, or early morning or midday, time is weird, I can hear other drivers, other voices on the radio, other people who took the same choice, who became anchors for other bridges, other timelines. We talk sometimes, share stories, keep each other company. It's not so bad, being here, being the thing that holds reality together. Someone has to do it. Might as well be me. I check my fuel gauge, still empty, still running on something other than diesel, running on purpose now, on necessity, on the understanding that some sacrifices have to be made. I look in my rearview mirror. The bridge stretches behind me. Infinite, impossible, beautiful in its way. I look ahead. The bridge stretches forward. Same view. I'll drive this bridge forever, and every mile I drive keeps someone else safe, keeps this reality stable, keeps the timelines from bleeding together. It's enough. It has to be enough. The radio crackles. Harrison's voice. "You doing okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." "Good. Welcome to the bridge, partner. Hope you like driving." "I do. Always have." "Then you're in the right place." We drive on, side by side, mile after mile, marker after marker, forever. And somewhere, in another timeline, another version of me is living my life. Married to Jennifer, working local routes, growing old, being happy. I hope he appreciates it. I hope he knows what it cost. But probably he doesn't. Probably he wakes up every day thinking he made all his own choices. That life just worked out. And that's okay. That's the point. He gets to live, and I get to drive. Fair trade. The aurora appears overhead, green and red and purple, swirling in patterns that almost look like words, almost look like thank you. I wave at it, and I keep driving. Always driving, forever driving. On the bridge that never ends, holding everything together, 1 mile at a time.